Bring the ship up to broadcast depth. We're going in.
Lots and lots of podcasts have intro music. They do not have this intro music. I can guarantee you that. No. Today we're going to talk about what is your worth. What's your worth to women? What's your worth to yourself?
All right then.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I have with me Mr. John Fitch, who is still muted. Give me 1 second. I'm going to turn the echo cancellation back.
How you doing, guys? Good morning.
There we go. Much better, much better. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Yeah, good stuff, man.
Welcome to my stream, finally. It's every 5 weeks, and it always feels like it's longer than that for me for whatever reason.
Yeah. Great intro music.
Thank you very much. I'm actually working on a little short intro clip right now, just a kind of a stinger or some kind of trailer type thing. But I don't want it to be too long. Like my intro music for my live streams is right around 1:20, so it's like I gotta make it interesting for 1:20.
I gotta up my ukulele game.
Yeah.
I find making anything interesting for 1:20 quite challenging these days, to be honest.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
The champ is here!
All right, we have Jonathan.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
From Modern Life Dating. Although you're not stepping away from your brand. You got Masculine Empowerment Network now as your thing, right? But you're still
no. Masculine Empowerment Network is just the club you sign up. I will always be Modern Life Dating. There's never going to be some rebranding or some finagle my way into something else. I'm going to stay true to myself because I'm not a coward, and it's always make money, make muscles, learn game, and then you fucking die. Okay.
And there goes my monetization. Thank you very much. Please,
you're welcome.
What about growing a beard and finding God?
Growing a beard and finding God. I'll leave that to the other guys.
Yeah. No, not today. Kevin Samuels is kind of a hard guy to get in touch with these days. I think he has graduated to a different level now. So today I wanted to, we'll go around the panel here in a little while, but today I wanted to get into, this is something Troy actually threw at me as far as the topics were concerned. Knowing what your value is and knowing what your worth is to women at any particular time. And I think this is a much broader subject or topic than I think we were thinking about when we were having our discussions, Troy. So it's very easy to say, what's your value to women? But that comes with a lot of caveats, right? That comes with a lot. Like the first thing anyone is going to say is, well, you shouldn't make women the metric of your success anyways. And so my first question for you guys is, if that's the case, right? And damn well some MGTOW, some black pill person, it doesn't even have to be. You could, a well-meaning red pill guy, even including myself. I've always said, women should only be a complement to a man's life, never the focus of it. That's one thing. Another thing is that a lot of people use women as a metric of another man's success, right? They'll say, well, show me the receipts, right? Who's he with? Who is this guy? What's he all about? And if he was really who he said he was, he would be different. He would be he would act different, of course, but he would also have more women in his life, or different kinds of women in his life, or hotter women in his life, or women who admired him in his life, that kind of stuff. So is that not then using women as the metric of your success? So I want to go around the panel here, and I was kind of hoping Ryan and Rich will be here too. They'll show up. They'll trickle in little by little. But first thing I want to do is sort of go around the horn here and say, what do you think should be the measure of success or the measure of like worth or value for a guy? Whether that's women, whether that's success, whatever that is, right? Is that monetary, financial success? Is that like, where you're at? Is it something that's sort of subjective and easily sort of, bounced around as, something that's more relative? But John, what is your definition of like, say, masculine success, and what is it that guys should base their worth on something? Because it has to be quantifiable. So what do you think, John?
Well,
Oh,
sorry.
I was going to go with Fitch first. Okay, I'm just going to call you Fitch. Fitch, go first.
Age before beauty.
Sorry, John.
No, I was thinking that we traditionally we value guys who have abundance. Guys who can provide a lot. That's a high valued man, and I don't know where the mindset came into where women got so attached to it, but like that was a part of the abundance. If you could have women and children, and it's because you had a lot of food, because you could provide, you were the most competent.
Resource.
So that's where some of that, resources, kind of where that you kept yourself alive and the people around you stayed alive because you were that competent. That gave you value.
Mm.
Now that's kind of screwed up now today, because a lot of that provision comes from the government or the state or elsewhere. So I think we're in a position where guys kind of have to find their own value and what they value for themselves right now.
Mm-hmm. John, what do you think?
Money, muscles, women, game.
I mean, it's pretty simple.
How should a guy evaluate like where he's at, or how should another guy evaluate a guy as far as his success? Now, everybody's going to say this. You shouldn't use other guys as the measure for your own success. Why do we say that?
I don't know, because what I'm going to say is going to be kind of opposite of all that.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, are you living the life that you want to live? Period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and are you being honest with yourself? Like for me, like I can't be monogamous. I just can't do it. I love having sex with a lot of different hot girls, and I've tried monogamy. I felt like I wanted to kill myself, and it was awful. And it's just not for me. And I just made peace with the fact that that's just what I want. I used to work in a corporate job, and I realized like I hate working in a corporate work. I just want to work for myself. I want to make my own money, because you're never going to get rich at a job. I did that, right? I look at myself in the mirror, and when I was out of shape, I just said like, I don't want to live like this. And I got back in shape, and now I'm in shape, so it's just, are you living the life that you want to live? Now, another thing is this, like, are you, because this is a big thing, right? Because every guy seems to overvalue himself. I guess it's a common delusion amongst men in general, but are you truly in a relationship with a chick where you feel awkward when you're not leading and you're not guiding? Like if a girl tries to lead the interaction with me, I'm immediately turned off, and immediately just like I just feel feels so incongruent, and I want to get out of that situation. And I correct them and say, listen, I don't like the way this is going, and either we're going to do this my way or I'm leaving. And when you do that, chicks are going to respect you. And that is a very rare thing these days, when like guys are just portrayed as buffoons nonstop. And, like the average man is just not respected in the West, especially.
Troy, what do you think? Should I be the guy that says, hey, oops, I pulled you out. Sorry, my bad. Should I be the guy that's like saying I should compare myself to John from Modern Life Dating? Should I be like, oh man, I wish I could be like John? Should I be thinking that as a guy, or should I be like the other flip side to that is everybody always tells you this. Don't compare yourself to other guys. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. I mean, which is really kind of like, feel good Tony Robbins kind of stuff. But like, where are you at as far as that's concerned?
Well, I agree with a lot of what John's just said, actually. I think that it should come down to how you actually want to live your life, because we get fed a lot of ideas about how we should want to live our life through social media and even in this space, we've got people with big cars and they've got a certain kind of lifestyle, and yes, it looks good and it attracts a lot of people, but is that actually the kind of life that you as an individual want to be leading? So I think that's really true. The only thing I'd add to it is to say, I think in terms of your worth as a man, if you like, and particularly when you get to the end of your life, what is your worth as a man? To me, it's got to be what you contributed. It's got to be what your achievements were, right? A classic example is like a writer, like you, Rollo. You have your book, so regardless of whatever else happens, you will leave behind those books, and those books have had a great impact on people. So for me, that is a measure of achievement. Now, obviously, for everybody, it's going to be different because not everybody's a writer, but you've got to make your mark on the world in some way. And for me, that's the thing that you've got to be proud of. Everything else, and even money to some extent. I mean, money can be a byproduct of that, yes. But, there were plenty of famous artists who died without having made a lot of money, but they still created a great body of work. So I think ultimately, and it's a little bit intangible, but I think it's do your own thing, live the life that you want to live. But also, are you creating something? Are you putting something out there that is making an impact on the world? Because for me, that is the true measure of success.
Awesome. Yeah, I tend to agree with that too. I'm kind of sussing this out for myself these days because when people say, "Oh, show me the receipts," well, what does that mean? What does that account for? First of all, and like, what is my value as far as like, we can talk about sexual market value. I've talked about this in the past too, where I think I was talking about this one writer. Her name was Robin Korth, and you probably heard her name like once or twice thrown around like over the years. And she was very upset because Robin was like 58 or 59 years old. She was still single and still looking for the one, right? Still looking for that one guy, and very proud of herself, very empowered, very strong, independent woman, and could not understand for the life of her why the younger guys that she was getting with wanted her to like dress like provocatively. They wanted her to like wear lingerie to bed or something. You'd look better if you did this. If you grew your hair longer, you'd look more feminine. That kind of like wanting to change her appearance kind of thing. And she was just completely offended by this. And then her rationale for being offended was the fact that she had this self-esteem that had been built up over the years, and she was proud of herself, and she was equating her self-worth with her sexual market value, which was actually pretty low considering she was 58, 59. She was just this side of 60 years old, but she expected to be evaluated according to her sexual market value by conflating her sort of personal worth in with that. It's like, nobody cares if a guy wants to bang you. It doesn't care whether you have, a professional degree or you own your own business or whatever else it is, because nobody cares what you do for a living once your clothes come off, and trying to explain this to a woman is really hard because their agency and their power and the things that they sort of use as an estimate or something to sort of a metric to build up their self-worth is always conflated, or it's always attached to that sexual market value that maybe was pretty high in their 20s, but hasn't been what it's been for probably almost, in this case, almost like 40 years.
Well, that's correct. And just as a sort of appendix to what I just said, sexual marketplace is different, right? And it's different. It's certainly different for women because we know that men value looks and youth and beauty primarily. So that's a key thing. But it's also different for men as well. Because listen, I could be the greatest poet in Great Britain. Maybe I probably am. The greatest poet in Great Britain.
You definitely.
But when I'm at the Cancun phone party, when I'm at the Cancun phone party, Rollo, when things open up, which hopefully will be very soon, the girls there are not going to give a damn about how well I can put together a piece of poetry.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So again, even for a guy in the sexual dating marketplace, some of those intrinsic achievement things I was talking about before actually don't matter that much, and other things are more important.
I think a lot of stuff, when it comes to evaluating our personal worth, a lot of guys, we like John says all the time, make money, make muscles, learn game, right? Having those three core elements are a source, I think, of our own sort of like personal worth, or like where we are in life and where we should be at a particular phase of maturity, I think, as well. Because as if any of you guys have read my second book, when I talk about the timeline of women and what you can expect from them at different phases of maturity, there's also, I think there's steps along the way for a guy as he ages. It takes longer for men to sort of mature into their success, to mature into understanding women, to become better judges of character, to have sort of this intrinsic value even to themselves, where they realize that now they can, even if they don't have the options, and most do by then, hopefully they do if they've maximized their potential, but even if they don't, they realize that they have created those options in the past and can create them in the future again as well. So for instance, like John went through a pretty nasty divorce, but John knows who John is, right? John is freaking MMA John Fitch fighter guy, right? So he's got a confidence that most guys don't have. First of all, because he can kick people's asses. That's one. But the only reason he has that confidence is because he's kicked guys' asses in the past, and he knows he could probably do it in the future. And so he manifests these behaviors and this attitude and the way he speaks and everything else, and the way he raises his kids. All that amounts to sort of this understanding of who he is and his sense of self. And there's a value that I think that a lot of women pick up on. And for somebody in the case of like John, how old are you right now?
I'm 43.
43. John, MLG, how old are you?
Compounded effort.
You're 34, right? Or 35?
Just turned 35 in December.
35. And Troy, you are in your 40s, right?
Yeah, 46.
All you guys, and I'm in my 50s, so all of you guys are different guys than you were in your 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So your value and the things that you had built up, like I always say this is men must become and women just are. Well, when women just are, they are at different phases of maturity, and they have different like ways of evaluating a guy depending on where they are and what their understanding of their own self is as well. That's why I keep saying hypergamy is not a straitjacket. So hypergamy to a woman who is like 21, like these girls on Fresh and Fit, right? For the girls on like 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, their sense of self and their sense of value and their empowerment and then their sense of agency at that age is nothing like it's going to be when they get to be 20 or 32 or 33.
You can see it on the panel.
Prioritize that. I think that guys, when it comes to their own understanding of their own worth, first of all, they don't see that because they think that women's evaluation of them is static throughout their lives. It's not. When you're a higher value guy, it takes men longer to get to higher value than it does for women to do so. And the way that women evaluate that versus the way that other guys evaluate that, that's kind of what I wanted to get into today. So do you guys see yourselves at your age right now? Do you see like, do you evaluate yourself in a different fashion, like as far as like where you are now as like prior to who you were, like John, when you were in your 30s? When did you start fighting, Fitch?
I was a little bit late. I started like at 25, 24.
That's late.
Wow, that is late. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. No, yeah, I had never thrown a punch really until like my senior year of college. I was a grad assistant when I started fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, did you have a different sense of like what your value was at say like at 25 as you do like right now?
Oh yeah, for sure. But like you have no concept of, building worth or how long it takes. In my book, like I share my journals through that process of me moving to California. So I had no idea how long it was going to take to be somebody who is worth something or have money. Like I had like a birthday and I was like turning 26 or something. I remember writing about like, oh my God, I don't have a wife or a kid, and I don't have a house, and I'm a financial failure, and I'm already almost 30. Like I had no concept of the time it took to grow into that person I thought I was supposed to be at like 25 or 26.
Mm-hmm. John, you were saying, and you and I have had this conversation before, that now that you've hit 35, you understand what I'm talking about when you get to, because you're the only one in your 30s right here. So you are just now hitting what I've referred to as the peak sexual market value years for a guy. Now, the other thing, and I'm going to ask you for your opinion on this. The other thing is, do you think I have that assessment right, first of all? And then second of all, do you also, that's one assessment. The second assessment is that at 35, 36, 37, right there, do you think that there are other factors besides just how you look that is contributing to your value and your sexual market value at that age?
Well, I definitely think you're spot on in regards to a man peaking around 35 to 38 because, um, I've just had a, talked with it privately amongst us, but you guys know I had a really big personal financial milestone this year. And so that was pretty wild and crazy. Also kind of underwhelming at the same time. In regards to looks, I mean, I just think guys really overvalue how much looks has to do with getting a girl. I'm not saying you could be repulsive, but the thing is, a lot of guys have been feminized, right? Especially in the Western culture. And that's what a woman thinks about. A woman thinks, "Oh, if I don't look beautiful, if they consistently, obsess over their looks like a woman, that's unattractive to women, first of all. Second of all, it's all about how you make the girl feel, okay? And how you feel internally about yourself, you're going to project that when you're on a date with a chick. So I do think looks definitely help, right? If you have like low body fat, you have muscles on your body, you have good lean muscle mass, yeah, that's going to help out as well. But I think more of my experience now, because it comes from being red pilled for a very, very long time. I've been red pilled since I was 18. I didn't have like one of these like incel come up stories. I never got divorced, raped, or anything like that. I've always been in the game. But now it's like, to be honest with you, and I was talking about this on Troy's channel yesterday. We had a really deep discussion on Troy's channel yesterday. You guys should definitely go check that out after this. But me and Troy are experts in the game now, and to be quite frank with you, I have so much success with dating and seduction. My lay count's in the 230 something right now. And I've gotten to the point that it no longer like mentally stimulates me. It's like I'm just going through the motions to ejaculate and evacuate. Like it's just no longer really a challenge. The new thing that stimulates me is maximizing my finances, to be quite honest. And that like really, like how I used to obsess about like getting hot girls and maximizing, how many girls I can bang in a day and stuff. Like I still have my moments where like I just need to go like on a sex binge and like bang like 3-4 girls in a week. But then it goes back to like, okay, I got it out of my system. Now like I want to like focus on my health, focus on my finances, understand more financial strategies. That's really what is like kind of consuming my mind lately. So I think once you get to like a little bit older, like this age, 35, and you've been red pilled and you have game, okay, you've slept with at least 50 girls, 50, then it kind of becomes an autopilot thing. And it's like not that enchanting anymore, not that mysterious. It's almost like, pushing a button and getting a reaction from a soundboard or a vending machine or something like that. You just know the game so well that it's just becomes kind of boring.
I was going to say, is it a challenge anymore? Is it like, like knowing? And I think if you've read my first book, there's a chapter in there. It's called The Threat, and it was built off of an essay I wrote. Actually, it was a forum post from SoSuave that was a really good discussion. And the premise of it, and I put it in the description of this video actually, is that there's nothing that is more threatening to a woman than a man who understands his own value to women themselves. So I think that a lot of one of the biggest like pitfalls that a lot of guys today, particularly of the last two generations, is they don't realize what their value, their intrinsic value is going to be to women in the future. And I think that there's sort of this concerted effort, particularly in a gynocentric social order, that tries to keep men ignorant of that. It tries to keep you dumb. Yeah. And when I've done my essays and when I've done my episodes about the beta in waiting, it's the guy who's been raised from like 5 years old and now he's 30 some odd years old, and he's just been hammered flat by girls. He doesn't understand. He makes up either like, oh, it's God and it's fate, or else it's women, you'll never understand them. They're fickle and duplicitous, and you'll never figure them out, kind of thing, and sort of laugh at it. Or if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Happy wife, happy life, which is basically the same thing. Those are the guys who kind of go along to get along. But my curiosity was, how do they get to that point? How do they get to the point where it's like they have to sort of have a hamster themselves, right? It's sort of like this beta male hamster to explain away why it is that they were not valuable from the time they were in their high school years right up until they're right about 30, and then suddenly right up between the ages of 29 and 31 for women, they're irresistible. Now suddenly they fill a role. Now suddenly they have a use. Now suddenly their ship has come in. They've hit pay dirt for being patient and kind and doing all the things that the old set of rules taught them that they should if they want to get a girl. And now they think that their beta game has been vindicated. Yet what they're not seeing is they don't understand what their worth is to women at that time. And I was hoping that Rich was going to be on here, because when Rich does his Before the Trainwreck show, he gets a lot of common complaints or common questions or requests for how do I get my girlfriend back? How do I make my wife have sex with me again? And I think that a lot of those guys, that's one style of question, right? A lot of those guys they never understood the game to begin with. They were never alpha before. A lot of guys I'm sure you all get this at some point. It's like, Rollo, how do I get the frame back? I was so alpha and we were having hot monkey sex in the backseat of the car before we got married. And now that we're married, she turned the spigot off, right? There's no more say, the sex spigot is over. And now suddenly I'm not as valuable as I used to be, or that I thought I should have been prior to me putting my name on the marriage contract. And now
I was gonna say 9 times out of 10, if they married a chick in their 30s, you ain't alpha, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Another reason why I've said men should not be monogamous until they are 30, and then should never even consider marriage, if at all, until they get to be about, until they're hitting their stride. Because it's not only is it healthier for that guy because he understands his own worth to women at that point, it's also healthier for the woman, because she wants that guy who understands his own value. They want a guy. Women don't want a man to cheat, but they love a man who could cheat.
They like both. Let me add something in. Let me add this in. Okay, so a couple weeks, 2 weeks ago, I had a date with this really hot 23-year-old, right? And she was like, "Oh, hey, I'm at the hair salon, and we're supposed to meet at 6. Can I meet at 6:30?" And I just replied, "No." Because I was fed up, right? I was just like, no, I just don't want to. No, go fuck yourself. And I was like, I'll just go home and I'll trade some Ethereum and make a fuckload of money, and either way I win. And she was like, what do you mean? She's like, I've never had a guy tell me that before. And I was like, yeah, so see you at 6 o'clock, or I'm just gonna go home. And she showed up at 6 o'clock on the dot that night. SNL, so good to go.
Yeah.
It's just, if they don't respect you, first of all, as a man, you have to respect yourself, and it all comes down to internal congruency, right? Mm-hmm. So if you know that you can be a millionaire and you're not a millionaire, you're gonna walk around with this cloud over your head that you don't really, a lot of people are not gonna see it, but you're just gonna have this droopy kind of Eeyore aura about you. You know what I mean? Yes, yes. If you know that you should be I don't know, training jujitsu all the time, or you should be buying more Ethereum or buying more Bitcoin, or that you should be studying more, or you should be tackling learning languages or whatever, right? And you're not doing that, you have to carry that incongruency within yourself. And when you do that, it sabotages your inner game, and that carries out over into the date when you're with the girl, and you just subcommunicate these little low value behaviors. Girls pick up on that, and ultimately they don't like you. But if you like yourself, you respect yourself, you'll command respect from other people. And so many guys now, with the whole self-depreciating humor and, look at me, I'm just a big idiot and I'm such a dumb guy. Oh, forgive me for being a man. I'm sorry for being toxically masculine. Whatever crap propaganda the West is throwing out at you these days. If you walk around with that because all it does is just basically belittles you as a man. And if you don't love yourself, you don't respect yourself, women want a man they can look up to, a man that they can respect, because a lot of these girls don't respect themselves. A lot of these girls, dude, 95% of these girls don't know if they're coming or going. The modern woman is absolutely lost. She is just a debt slave, a calorie slave, just going left and right, has no idea where she's going, and all she's doing is self-destructing at a rapid rate and pulling everybody around her down with her. She wants an anchor. She wants a guy she can respect. She wants a guy looking and be like, God, this guy like gives me clarity. He gives me purpose in life. Yes, I'll fold that laundry. Yes, I'll cook for you. Like, tell me what to do. And this is why a lot of guys fall into the equality trap. Like, oh, let's have equality in the relationship, right? Girls don't want equality. They want a totalitarian dictatorship with a man they respect. Period.
And admire. Yes, exactly. Troy, you had something?
How do you follow that? No, I was just going to say, just cycling back to the point about recognizing your power in the marketplace, and I think that's absolutely true. I think that guys, you were saying, how does a guy who's in his 30s and suddenly he's getting these girls into him, how does he rationalize that? And I think they do one of two things. I think either they just think, oh, my luck's come in, my ship's come in. Or he thinks, oh, actually, it's all, like you said, it's all paid off. You know, all of that hard work, paying into my 401k, doing everything right, it's all paid off. And now she's realized what a great man I really am inside. So I think it's that. But if you are somewhat aware of these dynamics and you're in your 30s and even in your late 30s, because as I've said before, actually for me, I was slightly later than this, really. My 39 was the most crazy year that I ever had in terms of my game and my dating life, if you like. And that was, you know, miles.
So you always say that. Why exactly? Could you elaborate?
Well, why? I think it was partly because of me. It was partly because of
were you banging a lot, or what was?
Yeah, no, I was.
Yeah, what was the metric of that?
That was the point at which I had a 5-girl rotation. So there was a period of time, there were 5 girls on the rotation, and they were literally coming around one after the other, night after night, and it was absolutely exhausting. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that to viewers at home. But there was that, and just like loads of success, loads of crazy stories and things. And it was a combination of things. I think because I had value, you know, I was earning some good money, I had property and these things. I was also very aware of these dynamics, and I was actually very aware for the first time in my life of my own value. So what Rollo talks about, you know, the dangerous guy who understands his value to women, I was acutely aware of my value at that point. And I think that I used that as leverage. I was very aware of it, and girls were aware that I was aware of it. And that was a very potent thing.
Yeah, I think that's key right there. And I think, and Fitch, I wanted to ask you about this as well, is like, do you get the feeling that women pick up on your, like a lot of guys want to call this confidence, but I think it's really more of like a self-awareness rather than really like, I mean, confidence is one. I think confidence is derived from having options or having created options in the past that you know you can recreate in the future. And I know you're dating women that are younger than you, and like on average, like first of all, what's the average age of the girl that is like interested in you, and are they interested in you in the long term, or is it just like hit it and quit it kind of thing?
I'm generally in the 22 to 32 age range, and I think the older girls, man, it's a variety. I'm out in the Bay Area. There's some girls who just want somebody regular who's not a loser to hang out with. They don't really want to get married or have kids. There's some that do want to settle down. Like I usually don't even get on dates with them. I've been out in the market long enough to be able to pick up on the ones who are looking to like, oh, I'm 31, I got to get married and have kids now. Like there's a lot of people I won't even swipe if they're 32, 33, and they still want to have kids. Like I'm like, she's probably going to be rushing to a relationship fast or whatever. So do they have I don't run into a ton of those.
Is it mostly like the older women that have like the 32-year-olds? Obviously is going to be different than the 22-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, is there an age at which sort of that plan kicks in? Like, are the younger girls trying to lock you down in something that's long-term? Like they want to start a family with you. They want to have a life with you kind of thing.
No, they're American.
Well, they usually want to have fun, but I have met a 25-year-old who's more forward thinking. Yeah, but she's an outlier.
I talked about that with Offie Kingdom last night, by the way, John. And we were talking about like he was asking me like, what do you think of like women today, you know, modern women today in 2021? I'll go, my biggest observation that I can make, especially from this recent popularity of like holding women accountable, is like every goddamn show that's in the red pill and the manosphere right now, it's the same damn show over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
It's holding women accountable for their lack of foresight, their lack of insight, and their lack of foresight. And yeah, that's great. That works pretty well. But the thing is like it's illustrative of a problem that's constantly happening right now, which is that women don't look forward. They're not looking for like, well, what am I, until it's the 0 hour, right? Until the lights are about to come on at the party, right? That they start thinking about things in terms of like, and usually too late. When they get to be 29, 30, 31 years old, right around there is like, oh my God, my value is going down and I've got to find a guy. It's like musical chairs, right? Find the chair before the music stops.
My ex didn't even think what was going to happen next with the divorce stuff. Like she didn't even think ahead to like, you know, what would happen with the house or with the kids or whatever. She didn't even think that far ahead. Like, oh, okay, now we have to ship the kids back and forth and we have to figure out a parental schedule. Like that wasn't even a thought in her head either. Like she didn't think that far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, none of them. Like John, you always agree with me when I say, like, bro, these bitches are lost, bro. These girls in America are lost because they divorced their fathers out of the house. Their mothers did. They got social media telling them how awesome they are. They got colleges telling them how awesome they are. They got the government telling them how awesome and empowered they are, yet they're victims at the same time. Everybody's telling them how fantastic they are, and nobody is giving them the truth about life. And guess what? They don't know if they're coming or going. And look around at the average girl. Ask her what she's gonna do with her life, what she brings to the table. It's always big talk, big talk, big talk, and sell pictures of my asshole on OnlyFans. Like that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be a doctor, but I'm gonna fund myself all the way there doing OnlyFans. And like I said, you're gonna see it's just going to get worse and worse and worse because what women in America have essentially done is reduce themselves to sexual objects because we've taken because like you said, the only agency a woman has is her sexuality, and they have proven that through and through and through again. What do they bring to the table? Nothing. What are they? Debt, obesity, STDs. Like, look at the stats. This is like not misogyny. This is just like blatant facts. And this is why I'm talking about Dude Party today, how like America is doomed. Like this shit doesn't fly in Asia. Like these girls, like they have respect for their families. They have respect for their heritage. They have respect for their family bloodline. And they're like, yo, I can't do that. My father might find out. My mother might find out. I'm going to have a reputation of being a hoe. I'm not like my mom is pressuring me to have babies. I'm going to be 30 and I'm unmarried. Like, they actually have that. In America, it's like a free-for-all. And all it is, these chicks are just victims to capitalism. And I support capitalism,
Consumerism.
Yep, capitalism, consumerism, and voting for Democrats.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to add, that's a really good segue into what Tim Pool was talking about yesterday. And yes, the lumber cuck is on this episode too, so just bear with me. But I think what's interesting about this is it's sort of, the reason I picked up on this morning is because I think it's pertinent to the conversation we're having here. So listen to this real quick. I'll stop at about 2 or 3 minutes in. So watch this
for sure. But we're going to chill and we're going to talk about some of an article you wrote 4 years ago, Melanie. So we have this from the New York Post. Childish men are to blame for women having a late life. I wonder if that made men really angry at men or at you. But just explain, what is this article about?
So, as we know, generally the writer doesn't actually write
I already
the headline,
hate her.
so I would just like to say it, or add the photo. That was not the point of the piece. The point of the piece is to say that Pew Research had new data that found that women are much more focused on marriage and parenthood than men are, and also more focused on career than men are. And women have to know that they may not find the man that they want to be with as soon as they want to be with him, and that they need to consider whether they want to, look at their fertility, freeze their eggs, consider, these are not, I haven't frozen my eggs, I didn't freeze my eggs. Maybe they want to think about having a baby on their own
no
and
more
save
left.
up for that. Maybe they want to save up for IVF. So that was what the piece was about. It was never about making men feel like they are not worthy of women.
How did
Yes,
Like it doesn't even cross her mind that the problem is that their mindset is that, oh, you get your career and then the children in your 30s and stuff. Like it's frustrating because men do want to have kids and have families, whatever, but like when they're not interested in it.
Right.
We want it when they don't want it.
Right.
When they want it, we want it in the younger ones, not
which
them.
is why it's pertinent to this conversation right now. Because whenever I hear guys talking about like, oh, you like ladies, you ain't living right, right? You need to think of the future when you're hot, young, and younger, hotter, tighter, right? When you're young and you're sexy, that's when you need to start making these decisions, because that's when you're at your peak of your choice and your sexual selectivity at that point. Women don't care, because they're being rewarded. They're being pumped up by a gynocentric social order that says more. Here's your special dispensation. Here's your student loans. Here's your special scholarships. Here's your Title IX. Here's whatever, anything you want. The world is your freaking oyster, ladies. And of course, they're not going to be concerned about thinking in the long terms, because they think that security is already taken care of for them when they're 18, when they're 21, when they're 24, somewhere around there. And they're not thinking forward. They're not thinking about the fact that the party's going to end at some point, and there's going to be another crop of 22-year-olds that are going to come in, and they're going to be at the peak of their game while you're on your declination, while you're on your way down. And I don't think enough guys understand what their value is to that woman at that particular time. Because we're just happy to be getting our dicks wet at 20 years old. We're just like, oh, great, I can't believe, the clouds parted and the angels sang and the light shined down on me and she gave me her holy, magic cooter, right? And now that I've got this, I got to make it last. And their men tend to be much more idealistic when they're younger. But when they get older and they realize the game and they realize what they're in, that's how you get things like midlife crises. It's not a midlife crisis. It's the guy going, ah, shit. I'm 36 years old and I cashed my chips in too early. I could have been at the peak of my sexual select. I could have been John Fitch at 43 years old. I could have been nailing these girls who are like 22 years old when I'm in my 40s right now and enjoying all this, because I'm so much more valuable right now. I have so much more going for me. I'm hitting my stride. John knows this because he's now at like 35, 36 years old, and he's just getting into that, hitting that stride right now. And you're probably thinking this, I know we've had this conversation before, John, is like, you could be hitting any chick it's boring to you now. It's like pressing the win button whenever I want sex. Okay. There it is. And the booty call arrives at your front door kind of thing.
There is.
Go ahead.
I don't know whether John's experienced this or indeed John Fitch, but there was for me a point when it felt like I could do no wrong for a period of time in the dating marketplace. I'm not saying that I was getting every single woman that I approached, because obviously that's unrealistic, but right. It certainly felt like I was getting more hits than I was misses. And it was really pronounced from late 30s up to about 39. You were just going out, the reception was generally good, very confident, direct eye contact, getting that attraction almost immediately, and that happening on a consistent basis. And that was a marked change from when I was in my 20s. So you do really, really hit pay dirt, if you like, at that particular point in your life. And, unfortunately, not enough guys actually recognize that or understand that.
John, I know you're chomping at the bit. What's up?
Oh, which one?
You.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just listening. I was listening to what Troy was saying. But I mean, no, I just think, like, again, I did an episode the other day on my YouTube, and of course it got taken down. But it was 5 hours and 45 minutes. It was called the China Pill, and I did a almost 6-hour long stream basically of why China has already won. Okay, there is no saving the West. America is doomed. Okay, America is on life support. American women are the lowest quality women to date on the face of the planet. Okay. The taxation is going to continue to go up. The vilification of men is going to continue to rise. Okay. The police state is going to continue to grow, and America is going to die. The liberal stuff, the left, the alphabet mafia, like the anti-white thing. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse. It's not going to get better. The last hope was Trump when he rightfully won the election. They fucking sabotaged it and stole it with the help of China because China knows that he was bad for them. And now they got weak, senile Biden in there. Guess who's in line after senile Biden's out? It's Kamala. And guess what? If someone like just hates
August 1st.
Kamala, yeah, guess what? And if somebody hates Kamala and like let's say, I don't know, she gets
To go
thrown
to
out,
jail for misogyny.
then you have Pelosi in line as well. And you can't criticize like what John was saying. You can't criticize Kamala
Criticism.
because she's black and she's a woman. So what are you, misogynist or you're
Yeah,
racist?
person of color.
Yeah. Hey, I got a quote. This is actually a really good question. I want to throw this on there real quick. Vivian Faust says, is the red pill ideology, okay, first off, red pill's not an ideology, it is a praxeology. Let's clarify that right now. But is the red pill, let's just say, forcing yourself to be something you're intrinsically not, learning game, etc., is it anti-Darwinian? Is the red pill making you into like somebody that you're not?
No, I think it's deprogramming. When you realize how things actually work, when you see how the biology of things works, when you watch a bunch of gorillas moving around and how they interact with each other, like there are learned behaviors between the apex males or alpha males and the beta males. Like you can see those behaviors. Like behaviors can be learned. Some of them are intrinsically born into you through your DNA and your father and your grandfather and how they were. But I think it's more of a de-hallucination. Like it's waking you up to things, how things actually are and how things actually operate, and gives you an opportunity to utilize the currents and how things actually are and use those in your advantage rather than succumbing to things just happening to you.
I wanted to say, who gets to decide who you get to be? What's intrinsically you? What's intrinsically like? Well, I said this is as far back as my 2013, my first book. Is like you're always going to run into resistance from people that know you, the people that like want you to stay the same, the people who want you to be predictable, the people who want to say you're a poser, you're acting in a way that you're not. That's why you have all these guys, these kids hitting you up, hitting me up, hitting John up, hitting Fitch up, hitting everybody up, saying you're trying to be something you're not really. Let me show you who you really are. Here it is. Here's all your pictures from Instagram. Like I wouldn't put those on Instagram if that's not who I thought I was, asshat. Okay. So it's like you get to decide who it is that you get to be. I don't think people really understand that your personality is not static. You get to decide what it is that you want to do. You have to give yourself, I told Alfie Kingdom this yesterday. You have to be able to give yourself permission to be someone else, man. And that is according to the value that you have. If you're a guy, let's say you're a 25-year-old guy and you're making $40,000 a year and you're just like, I remember, man, when I was making 45 grand a year, I was like, man, this is awesome. This is as much money as I've ever made. And now I have a completely different understanding of money. But imagine I still have that understanding of my own personal value of like when $5,000 a year was a big deal to me. And now I'm looking at, 6 figures. You're goddamn right I'm going to change. You're goddamn right my personality is going to be different. I'm going to have a different assessment of what myself is. And that's just money. If you're a fat ass and you go to the gym and you sit in there and you bust your ass for a year and you come out looking like Giga Chad, I would expect you to have a different opinion of yourself when you walk out of that goddamn gym. You did the work. You deserve to be a different person. You're goddamn right.
I guess, though, to play devil's advocate, perhaps what he's getting at is if you say, broadly speaking, you've got 80% of males are beta, or they are, the worker bees, if you like, whatever you want to put it, and then you've got the mythical top 20%. And there is an element in terms of our content, or certainly say content about dating and game, that is saying to guys, okay, if you do certain things, if you adopt certain behaviors, then perhaps you can move over from the 80% into the 20%. And I guess you could say, well, how realistic is it that everybody can move from the 80% into the 20%? And I suppose, honestly, the answer is maybe not every guy can do that. But I think if you've got sufficient nous and sufficient determination and persistence, I think that you absolutely can. and this is on many levels. This is in terms of your attractiveness on the dating marketplace, but also in terms of your money, your lifestyle, your career, etc., etc. So I think, is it true to say that everybody can move up into that top tier? Probably not, if we're being realistic. But I think that a lot of guys can definitely improve their position if they take the right actions.
Yeah, like you definitely shouldn't just think like, oh well, statistically, the probability of all of us, ascending to the 20% is impossible. Therefore, I'm just going to continue to watch Netflix and jerk off and smoke weed.
Yeah,
you should definitely try. Like, I'm a statistical anomaly. I talk about all the time. Like, grew up emotionally abused, physically abused, abject poverty. Never met my dad. I am now beyond a 1%er. Okay, sure, I'm 35. Maybe for some of you guys think it takes better, but it took longer. But at the same time, I don't work for anybody. I'm free. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I have women that love me. I've won. I've already won life compared to the average guy. My life is fantastic. So I don't understand. Like why would you even have that defeatist mindset? I mean, I'm from statistical standpoint. Yes, Troy is correct. But at the same time, you shouldn't just like roll over and put your tail between your legs and be like, oh, guess I'll fucking
John,
Well,
I had a question for John. John, at 35, are you in better shape? Are you more successful than your father was at 35?
Oh, like light years, dude. I am killing the game right now, dude.
Because we always I think one of the things that we think of especially when you become parents is like we want to give our kids a better life than what we had, kind of thing. And when I think about like where my dad was at when he was in his 50s, I go, I am like so like you said, light years ahead of where my dad was. Now I can say, well, that's because of technology, that's because he didn't have the internet, that's because it was from a different generation, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But it's also having a different opinion about yourself, giving yourself permission to succeed, giving yourself permission to be something more than you actually are. And I think that that's where a lot of guys kind of lose the narrative, because they don't have the gumption or whatever to like think of like, I'm going to be something more than I want to be. Like when I was talking to Offie Kingdom, he was asking me about my books, right? He's like, what is it that made you decide that you wanted to write a book? And I said, well, and I've had this conversation with Rich before, and it's like, you have to be conceited. You have to be self-important enough to say, yeah, I'm going to write a book because I think there's enough people out there that would give a shit about what I write about. And most guys, it's not about fear of success or anything. The bullshit. It's not that. It's you giving yourself, being arrogant enough to say, you know what? I'm going to write a book because I think people would like to read what I have to say. That's the hardest part. And because what you're doing at that point is you're giving yourself permission to be somebody different. So the graphic designer, art director, Rollo Tomasi now gives himself permission to be the author, Rollo Tomasi.
Yeah, it's really like self-actualization, isn't it, Rollo, what you're talking about? It's really like designing, to get into some cheesy self-help stuff now, but designing the life that you want to live, or designing the person you want to be. But yeah, I mean, I think it's also about a refusal to accept what you're just doled out by life. Because when I was younger, very, very withdrawn, very shy, very nerdy, quite introverted. People may say that I still am, but I was that character. I wasn't like head of the school football team or any of that stuff. I wasn't Chad. But it hit a certain point in my life. It was actually about 17 years old, and I looked around and I looked at my success or lack of it in dating and everything, and I just thought, do you know what? I'm damned if I'm going to go down like this. Do you know what I mean? It's not, and then it's almost like the name of the RSD Jeffy book, Get Laid or Die Trying. It's like, look, I'm damned if I'm going to accept this, because otherwise I'd be living in a small town and I'd be married and I'd have some, a fat wife and some, and I could have easily have just gone down that route. But it's that refusal to accept that and to say, no, I've only got a few years on this planet. I've got a few decades on this planet. I'm going to have the best time I bloody well can, because it's going to be over in a second. So why not? Why accept? Why don't you sit there meekly just sort of sit there meekly and just kind of accept, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a schlub. Well, I'm just going to ride it. Let's fucking get the Cheetos.
Do you think guys?
When I graduated from Purdue, fighting wasn't really a thing. It wasn't on TV. Nobody knew what it was. I had to explain to people what I was doing. But when I finished school, I was like, you know what? Like, do I go back to my hometown and become a teacher and a wrestling coach? Because that's what was going to happen. I was like, no, I heard all these stories about these guys fighting in Brazil and Japan and all these cool stories. I was like, I'm going to go try to do that. Let's see what happens.
You graduated from Purdue?
Yep.
What was your major? What was your
education, history, and PE?
Yes, that is awesome. Maybe this is a question. Yeah, I'm an economist. I think this is probably up your alley, John. Is this the worst time in history that men and women have gotten along with each other?
In the West, absolutely.
I would agree.
Dude, like, you guys don't realize, like, in Japan, like, men and women get along. Like, we're like, oh, hey, like, how's it going? Oh, Jonathan, nice to see you. Wow, you look so strong today. Like, me and my buddies, we were in the, like, Japanese girls are just so super feminine. We were in the park the other day, right? And we were just doing pull-ups on the pull-up bar, right? Outside, just, tank tops, just exercising, having a good time. And these Japanese girls stopped and they're like, wow, you guys look so strong. And then, one of our friends, like, started doing some pull-ups. And when they were done, the girls were like, wow, good job. You guys did so good today. And then they're just like, we're going to leave now. See you. We're like, all right, see you later. Goodbye. Like a happy, healthy society. In America, women would be like, this is a children's only town.
Microaggression.
What are you doing in here?
There's a safe space.
You got Karen calling in with her fucking lesbian glasses and her cell phone, like, they're barbecuing in the park. These Japanese girls, like, they like struggled to say English, just like, oh, you look so strong today. And they were so kind to us. That's why I love living here. That's why Aaron's like, why are you always so happy? Like, because I live in a functioning society. People are nice. Like, if I see somebody walking down the road with like a cute dog, I'm like, wow, your dog's so cute. They're like, oh, wow, thanks, Mr. Foreigner. Have a good day. It's like David the Beaver. It's like back then. And so
I'm going to agree with that assessment that the relationship between men and women today has never been more strained than ever before. I think the only part I would disagree with John is I think we're exporting this in bulk right now from Western nations. Like, Western feminism is being exported a whole lot more than I think we imagine it is.
Yeah.
You forgot the great firewall of China, though, baby.
Yeah, there are going to definitely be some buffers for that. So we'll see how things play out. But I would say this is
the key. The English language is the key. Dude, with girls, I'll tell you, I'm not joking. Ask Mac the Day Gamer. We could talk about it on a podcast. Once they start learning the English language, the corruption begins. And they're like, I don't want Netflix. It's not a joke. Like, in China, they had this on the China Pill episode, right? There's this one chick, looked like just the typical Western diseased feminist, right? And she's like, trying to make some sort of protest, trying to make some sort of stink about, groping on the trains or something like that, right? Which happens to men and women, by the way. And so she's trying to make some big statement, and then she complains because China is base and they banned all feminist apps online. All feminist bloggers, all that shit. They're like, nope, I have banned them. Like how us red pill guys get banned on social media, feminists get banned in China because they know that shit's cancer and it'll ruin our great Chinese nation. And we don't need that, right? Guess where? I said in the middle of my podcast, because I pulled up the article somebody sent me in the chat, and I was like, I guarantee that this chick has been educated abroad. Did a little bit of a deep dive. Where did she get her education? London, England.
Yep. All right, let me switch back to this real quick, because Tim's reaction to this is like very blue pill and very priceless. I think what's funny is when I'm seeing guys like Tim Pool, or seeing these guys like even Abba and Preach, and I see some of these other guys who were like kind of dancing around some of these intersexual dynamics questions. Now suddenly they're jumping in with both feet and they are like flailing, trying to like tread water when it comes to the red pill. And this is a real good example of this.
How did that come about then? How did they make your article about that?
Because because that's how headlines work. I mean,
Well, is it because men,
That's just dirty.
by virtue of what
How
you're
headlines
saying,
work.
they conclude that men aren't focused on family and career
Correct.
enough, so they're calling them
Yeah.
childish men? Was it a dude editor who was like, these men are losers?
No, and I love my editor. My editor is amazing. No, but some men did certainly get upset. In fact, there was one that decided we needed like a Talmudic treatise on this. It was an hour-long, opinion piece on how I was wrong, even though he was talking about the data that is Pew Research data. It did upset a lot of men, and that frankly upset me because I actually love men and I love boys, and I'm a champion of men and boys. So, and I don't think that men and boys are childish, but I do think that we have a problem in America whereby we are so focused on girls and women and their power and empowerment that boys and men kind of fall into the background. And I think that if we want to enable women to have all that they want, we need to raise boys and men up.
I don't know. You run into trouble when you start talking about this stuff, because even though right now women are the majority of those graduating college, the narrative is still that they're in the minority and they're in the weaker position. Shouldn't we start getting rid of these women's programs and start propping up men's programs to encourage men to get? I'm not a fan of college, by the way, so this is not an apology or me now supporting it. No. But just for the general context,
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't these feminists be like, oh, we got to support the minority and that's the men now?
I don't know that you have to take anything away from girls. Girls should be able to reach their potential. The problem is that we've forgotten boys. So yes, girls in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Girls have to, get equity with boys, and wonderful, fine, not a problem with that. The issue is that boys are falling way behind in literacy, and we don't talk about that. By age 6, boys don't want to read with their mommy anymore because they think it's too girly. And they don't want to read.
First of all, I think that's bullshit right there.
Bullshit indeed. This
Oh,
woman,
but my kids are 7 and 9. Every night before school nights, we read for like a half hour to an hour. Every night. We read some of the same freaking ook and glook, whatever crap book, like 15 times we read the damn thing.
Ook and Luke.
They laugh just as hard at every stupid joke in there as the first time we read it.
is this woman childless and non-married and giving advice?
I'm betting. She's probably talking about single mothers reading shit books to their kids that they're not interested in.
Yeah, feminist baby.
Yep.
I think she probably is, John, because she was mentioning earlier on that she hadn't frozen her eggs or anything like that, and I thought that was kind of telling because women, we can't empower women so much so that we can give them everything, right? We can give them security for the beta bucks, like the 3 Ps: provisioning, protection, and parental investment. You can go down to the fertility clinic, ladies, go to the sperm bank, and you can go and reproduce on demand, right? If you don't like that, freeze your eggs until you find Mr. Right. That's pretty much why we have, egg freezing, because women are not finding the guy that they think that they are entitled to. Talk about this all the time on Fresh and Fit, on Kevin Samuels, on whatever stream is trying to hold women accountable. Like, you're average at best, right? You telling a woman she's average at best at 33 is a whole lot different than telling her she's average at best at 23. And so when we have these women who think that they have all the time in the world, we've sort of fostered this idea amongst women, at least in the West anyways, John, is that they have more time than they actually do. So when women get to be 33 and they get upset when Kevin Samuel says that your average is at best or something, that is because you're destroying this fantasy for them that they've been fed from the time they were like little kids, that you got all the time in the world. You can have everything that a man can have, meaning you can have a family into your 40s, into your 50s, which is, by the time you hit menopause, it's physically impossible for you to do so. But we're going to say, oh, we can perpetuate your agency, and your agency is you look good all the time. You're going to feel good all the time. Men are going to want, you're going to be your arousal your sexual market value is evergreen and you'll never have to worry about it. And if it's not, then it's men's fault for not playing in and playing along. Like feminism would be this great thing if men would just cooperate with it that much more, right? And you get generation after generation of women who think in those terms. That's when you get to the point where they're unprepared for the future. They're unprepared for the decisions that they should have made probably a decade prior to where they are right now. But what do we do? And so how do we explain this away? We call men childish. We say, oh, they're perpetuating their adolescence. I want to ask you guys this: when it comes to guys knowing their self-worth, does anybody think that men are more childish now than they were in prior generations?
I think they are.
Yeah, I think because what have you given them to work towards? What have you like? First of all, they've been raised. The majority of men in America are now being raised by women.
Yeah,
okay?
mothers.
Teachers too, psychologists.
Let me say something, and then I'll let you go, John. Do you know that the Romans, when they conquered their enemies, you know what they did? They made the women raise the boys because they knew they would grow up to be weak little bastards. Did you know that, Rolo?
Which one?
You paying attention?
No, sorry. I was throwing on Offie Kingdom's thing here. So yeah, I'm sorry. Say it again.
I said the Romans, right? The Romans, when they conquered their enemies, they would take the fathers away from the boys and have the boys raised by the mothers because they would be weaklings, right?
Turn into weaklings. Yes. I'll go one more, and then John, and then Fitz, you're up. There's this great book. It's called Alpha God by Dr. Hector Garcia. There's a part in there, and again, something I've talked about with Rich as well, is like when the Catholic colonists came over from Spain to the New World to conquer the Aztecs, right? To conquer the Incas, like to come over into what we now know as South America and stuff. When they came over, one of the policies that the conquistadors had and the Catholic priests of those orders had at that time was to emasculate the men of the tribes that they had conquered, to the point where they were literally turning them into eunuchs, cutting off their junk. Or what they would do is they would make the strongest, most virile of them dress up like women. And so that was part of sort of this emasculation, because they knew that the moment that they could crush that masculine spirit, that testosterone fueled drive in that tribe, they could crush the tribe. They could convert them to Catholicism or whatever.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Can any of you guys name any anti-coronavirus protests being led by women right now?
There's one outside my house. I don't even know if I saw a couple girls, but they're usually there with their husbands. But I think that kind of makes your point.
The point I was going to make was one of the books that I read to my boys, or had read, is a book about Abraham Lincoln. And at the beginning of the book, he's out in the woods with a front-loaded musket hunting for dinner at 8 years old. And that's just normal. I was like,
that's just what they did. Yep.
Like, you see this kid's like, quit complaining about, picking your socks up or whatever. Like, this dude had to go out into the woods by himself with an explosive device that wasn't really that safe.
Mm-hmm.
You have muzzle loads thing. He had to kill something big enough to feed your family.
My favorite story is this, bitch. Have you ever seen the movie Glory? About the Civil War and it was the 54th, right? It was the all black regiment for the Union Army, and it was led by Colonel Robert Gould Shaw, who was made colonel at 23 years old. He was already a captain in his early 20s. 23 years old, and he's a colonel in the Union Army at that time. Now, granted, you could say, well, they needed all the help they could get, and people grew up. Guys had to grow up a whole lot faster, and that's my point. Yes. You can take you can take on a whole lot more responsibility and this is not a responsibility push, but it's within you to think bigger than you actually do right now, and has nothing to do with age. Colonel Robert Gould Shaw was leading an all-black infantry unit, the 54th, at 23 years old, man, and had to do it and died doing it. So it's not about your age. It's about what's up here. Ryan, what do you think about all this?
Well, that's not rare either.
Thanks
I
for
went
coming.
down. Yeah, no worries. Sorry, man, a little late. Went down to Oosterbeek in Amsterdam. They have like a Canadian cemetery there for all the guys that died during the whole invasion to free all the north from the Germans. And we went through the graveyard. There was probably like 100, 150 graves there. One guy was 35, some sergeant, which I picture some salty bastard. Everybody else was 23 or under. I mean, obviously, I make the case, yes, we're a little more into luxury than we are right now for hardship because we've just automated hardship out of our lives. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say this is conquistadors turning, men into soy boys so they can take over. But you know what? If it gets a guy to the gym, fuck it. And that's all I got on that issue.
I think what John is saying is it's a pretty easy step to see that if you want to maintain control over a population, you eliminate the alpha males, or you certainly limit the
males in general.
Yeah, the males in general. Now those
World War III in China.
See, those alphas might be useful in some sense, right? They might like that fighting spirit might be useful to maintain at least some warriors, right? To maintain some alpha males, because if you don't, then all you have is a nation of soy boys who can't pick up a rifle and don't have, simply lack the will to fight. That's another thing about boot camp, and I don't know if any of you guys have been in the military, but that's what it trained you to be a killer. You have to sort of get over the idea that you're not, it's undesirable for to engage in conflict, right? To actually harm or kill another person. You have to turn average guys into killers, because most guys aren't that dude. They aren't the guy that you have to like sort of eliminate from that population.
Well, to be fair, they taught you how to iron too. So.
Military psychologist talks about the prevalence, like how unlikely a human is to kill. There found muskets like back in the Civil War where like one in five guys actually shot to kill or something like that. There's certain guys who would just load weapons and pass them to guys who were willing to shoot to kill. Guys would shoot in the ground, shoot in the air. It wasn't until I think Vietnam where they dialed in how to train a human to actually be able to kill people easily. And it was this social distancing type thing where you referred to them as a target. You're eliminating the target rather than I'm killing this person.
Right.
And when you created that distance between the person and you made them non-human, then it just became a trigger that you started using moving targets that popped up, things that train them like a video game would train you to just react.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that there has to be, I think at some point it makes sense to emasculate a certain population so that you have control of them. And I'm saying, I'm watching in the chat here. It's like at the same time that we have become she was just saying a minute ago, is that guys have become more childish. Guys have become more, let's just say they lack the maturity at an earlier age now. What were we saying just a minute ago? John, when I said, you're hitting 35, 36, 37, that's your peak potential years. I've been criticized because of my sexual market value charts for saying like, no, it's much earlier than that. And I'm like, yeah, I would agree with that. If we were living in the 1800s, absolutely. If we were living in the 1900s, even like you look at the kids that went and fought in World War I and I mean kids that went and fought in World War I and World War II and landed on Omaha Beach on D-Day. I mean, what was the average age of the soldier, American soldier, that hit the beaches of Normandy on D-Day? I mean, I would argue they're probably in their late teens to early 20s, most of them. And they had to go on and take on that responsibility to go and essentially just get shot on a beach somewhere just so that they could establish a beachhead and invade that part of Europe at that point. And we look at them as like the greatest generation. And it's like, again, the socialization, the acculturation of that time were much different than they are right now. Now, my next question is this: is it because men have been, whether systematically, deliberately or not, is it because they are more immature that women are the way that they are right now?
Yeah, because like a woman naturally, if a guy was properly raised by a masculine man, and a guy has that just natural masculine instinct to tell a fucking dumb bitch to shut up, quite frankly. Like if she's doing something stupid, like, no, shut up. It's a fucking dumb idea. Why? Because I'm a man and I built the goddamn planet. Okay? So shut up and don't fucking go self-destruct and drag me along because you're just a fucking walking liability. But now guys are like, guys are afraid to say stuff on social media because your account will get banned. You're afraid to say stuff on, the workplace because you're going to get fucking financially destroyed. Right? And you're afraid you're going to get Me Too'd now, right? You're afraid you're going to get some false rape accusation. Everything is stacked the cards against guys. So guys have kind of like become this repressed version of themselves. But it all starts with bravery and courage, and that is imparted into you by your father or a strong masculine character in your life. A lot of the guys in the chat are just complete pussies. They don't even want to like type out what they really feel in real life because they think, oh, I'm gonna get banned or I'm gonna get struck down by social media or I can't say that on my channel, right? And they're all selling out just for the sake of following the narrative.
Mhm.
And that's what's gonna happen. That's just a society is not able to be sustainable at that rate. You show me a society that has had monumental success in the history of mankind
Mhm.
that was led by women.
Yeah, you're not going to fight it. There are no real good if any good examples of what we would say is a classical matriarchy.
Couple tribes in Africa. Tribes in Africa living in mud huts. Good, solid, great.
Oh yeah, they have to rebuild those mutts every year too when the rain takes them out. It's like a big celebration.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Well, and I've again, this is something out of book 4 is patriarchy is a natural outcome of just human nature of men being men and women being women. And it's worked for us for thousands of years. And in an idealized sense, patriarchy is a balanced system because you have men have to have responsibility, and that's all tradcons want is more responsibility, be more responsible, more, without any authority to affect that responsibility in the first place. Under patriarchy, that responsibility came with commensurate authority. And that's where we lack. We give women all the authority, and we give men all the responsibility right now. And that's what we get when we prioritize feminism, when we prioritize gynocentrism. And I've made this case is that patriarchy is a natural social order for human beings because of the way that we're built, because of the machine, because of our instincts, because of our mental firmware. It works best. And we do ourselves as a society, as a nation, as tribes, whatever, as families, we do ourselves no favor when we try to subvert that, whether that's deliberate or that's not. So crushing the alpha males out of a tribe is only going to make that tribe weaker as a result of that. And so what happens, John, in China, they want men to be more masculine. They're trying to remasculinize the boys of that nation because they see what's happening. That's why they keep it out. That's why China keeps out the feminists. That's why they repress all of that stuff. And you know what? It's well within their right to do that because they're a sovereign nation and they will do whatever the hell that they want to do. But what's interesting to me is people lose their minds because they're trying to remasculinize, of all things in the world, trying to remasculinize a generation of boys because they don't want them to be pussies. But because we have this idea, this priority that women should rule, that women should be above everything else, that seems offensive for them to be doing something like that.
Yep, and that's why I say, I used to be, I think it was about a year ago on this podcast, I was like, there's hope for America. There's hope for America. There is no hope.
No hope for America.
The West is in decline. Get rich, get out, or suffer with the rest of the plebs. Those are your only choices. There's your fucking red pill for the day.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryu. He says, it was super chat from his chat on Tim's show that sent me here. I lean towards MGTOW since I have been burned in the family courts, and I've listened to people like Turtling Monkey, but I listened to Raging Golden Eagle. I have no idea who that dude is. I'll check out your stuff. Well, thank you for checking out my stuff. Let me kick this back in here because this is actually, there's some really good stuff at the end of this here.
With the family anymore because it's just not something that they want to do, and we tend to again focus on girls in STEM. And I'm a toy industry expert. I go to Toy Fair every year and other toy events. And I remember I went to one once, major company, and they had dolls, fairy tale princess dolls, and with them came books. So this princess had this book, and this princess had, and then we went around, and the sort of more superhero characters were just the dolls. Where's the book? What do you mean? There's no book with these. Right. This was your perfect opportunity to engage boys in literacy. This is how you do it. They want to read.
Interestingly, the assumption is that because boys are in the privileged position, they don't need help. And from that, we've created a massive disparity, and now...
Right, it's a fallacy. It's absolutely a fallacy.
Well, so then the issue, I suppose, is how are boys supposed to catch back up to girls by going slower than they are or at the same pace? Wouldn't you need special programs, and wouldn't you then need to take away programs from women?
You know, I'm not an educator, so I don't know what we would need to take away from girls. And frankly, I don't think we need to take anything away from girls.
There it
I
is.
think what happens then...
I hate them both.
Boys, classrooms are set up for the way girls learn. Sit
Imagine waking
still,
up to that
listen,
voice every
take
morning.
notes, behave yourself. Don't move around. Boys need to move around, you know, but then they get in trouble, and then they don't go back to class. And we've shrunken recess, so boys
Botox
aren't
in the
moving
eyebrows.
around when they have the
Yikes.
chance to move around.
It's so
some
belittling, too.
kids, even girls who have, you know, some form of ADD, they need to move in order to learn, but we don't want kids to do that. Kids learn through play. If you want to teach a child, especially a child...
What she ignores in all of this, and I was when I was watching this, I picked up on that. What she ignores in all of this is that 78% of teachers, especially in public schools right now, also in private, by the way, are women.
Women.
And men don't, well, first of all, they don't want to teach because the money sucks.
Right.
And second of all, they don't want to go and put all this kind of time and effort and energy into getting an education degree and doing, you know, I mean, math teachers, maybe there's men. Coaches, yeah, maybe there's men. There's certain subjects where men are still in education. But what we've done systematically from like the sexual revolution on, like really 4 generations, even since the baby boom generation, is we have systematically taught boys as if they were girls. And you guys have heard me say, you know, we raise boys like defective girls. Well, part of that is the understanding, or the belief anyways, that boys should learn like girls. So if we're going to be taught by women and we want to raise up this generation of confident, you know, empowered, femme-powered little girls to be little Disney princesses, like she was saying, getting their little books, what's in those books? It's not that they're reading, it's what they're reading.
Boys can have periods too.
Yeah, exactly. Feminist baby, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why you don't have a lot of male teachers too, though, is because you have to deal with all of these females and this nonsense. There's a viral video going around like last day or two with some male teacher who was like getting ready to resign because he's like, you cannot have me teach this garbage to these kids. Like it's against biology. I refuse to like stoop down and pander to this crap. I think there's a lot of men who feel that way, and you just can't deal with it. I went through some graduate school, and I was doing pedagogy administration, which is just whatever administration for schooling type stuff. I was like the only guy in the class. They're all like women who'd been teaching for a while and whatever. And I could not stand the class. You know, it was just a bunch of hens pecking. We spent most of the time talking about their husbands or their whatever, their kids or their class or whatever garbage they're talking about that I had no interest in. And then we didn't spend any real time talking about the meat of the class. And then had to be lame enough to read all the boring crap books and whatever. I'm going to see.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what it gets me about the thing. Like she's talking about how do we get guys to catch up with women? Like you're competing with girls. I don't want to compete against that. I don't want to make the hen picking more masculine. And that's honestly, what is it? Like the MRA. That's their approach. Whine that men aren't getting a fair deal. Make us just as good as women. That's useless. A guy could learn more. And I know this is going to sound stupid, but like watching YouTube videos about physics than he can from going to a physics class. Weird example. I get it. And who was it? I think it was you, Rolo. Didn't you say the one where once you find that girls are like a major part of an organization, that's because that organization is no longer, it doesn't matter?
It's not about the same thing they started it over.
Yeah,
Not about
but I mean, it's more so
profitability.
like from a technological standpoint.
Like the
Let's look at it this
church.
way. Office jobs, basically useless. Pushing papers, doing Excel spreadsheets. Automation has taken away white-collar jobs now in the way that it used to take over blue-collar jobs. Now they're letting a bunch of girls in, and now college is about hen-pecking husbands because it doesn't matter. Robots doing your job anyway. And I think, and this is why I think Tim is doing this more for pandering to the audience as
Right.
opposed
He is.
to actually doing problems.
Totally.
That paradigm is gone. We're not teaching kids to ride and fix carriages anymore. So what's the next thing? And nobody's discussing that. Nobody's looking at it. And I hate to say it, but guys are going to be on their own for this. And I wish I could say, well, the next thing is just do this, but nobody knows what the fuck that is
Learn
either.
the code. Yeah.
So this is new territory, man. We have no idea where this is going to end up. The only thing I could say for sure is the guys being left behind in school thing. I think it just means guys are going to leave school and they're not going to be any worse off for it because school is, what is that thing the trads always put out, the drag queen story hour?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, how can we get guys so they can enjoy drag queen story hours? Like, I don't care.
Yeah, feminism would be so much better if guys would just cooperate with it and agree with it. And it's always this frustrating. I used to have this conversation with Dalrock when Dalrock was still blogging. He had a series of posts that was something like feminism would work if men would just cooperate, but men aren't cooperating because it's not in our DNA. It's not baked into us to want to actually lay down for 90%, 100% of what feminism offers to guys. And I thought it was funny because they started this out right here. It's like, if it was about equality, then shouldn't we be talking about having, making things more equal for men as well as women at the same time? And I thought, Tim, it's never been about equality. I put this on my Twitter so many times that I'm tired of it. It's like giving me a headache. Like, it's never been about equality. And again, as you were saying, Ryan, when it comes to like the MRAs and everything else, that's my greatest. People say, well, how come you're not an MRA? Or when people throw that at me, they go, oh, that Rolo guy, he's an MRA. I haven't got it in a while. Usually it's like you're a dating coach or something like that. Now it's or back in the day it was, well, Rolo's an MRA. I'm like, no, I'm not an MRA. And the reason I'm not is exactly what you just said, is like
50 years and nothing to show for it.
MRAs want the equality that feminists have always claimed that they wanted, but has been bullshit since the word go, since back in 1849 at Seneca Falls, right? It has always been bullshit, but they want to become more perfected feminists. Well, if the boys need help, then we got to help the boys. And if the girls need help, then we got to help the girls. And it's all about this egalitarianism that doesn't work with the human animal. It doesn't work with the machine. That's why I think that guys like Paul Elam and Dean Esme and all these guys do your great stuff. But you know who represents your movement more than anything else? Let's see, Karen Strawn, Christina Summers, Cassie J. Name the female that is an MRA. There are more famous females in the men's rights movement than there are men that you would associate with that movement. Rich Cooper has decided to join us. You get one of these.
The champ is here.
There you go.
What's up, guys?
Rich,
Sorry I'm running late today.
I have a question for you, Rich. Why do men complicate their lives?
Isn't that what people like to do? Complicate their lives and then justify why they do it?
Well, I the reason I'm asking that is because when we were discussing this topic in our private chats and everything, was it you or was it Troy that dropped this conversation about like some guy who was like 33 years old and he was trying to figure out how to get back
Troy.
Yeah, 40-year-old wife, and it's like, why is this even a conversation at this point? Why does this seem like a good idea to you? But like, why do guys? Like, you've been doing Before the Train Wreck for a long time now. Why do you think that, like, we talk about red flags? Why is it that it's hard for guys to see? And I hate even to use the term red flags because it's like sort of these cues. It's your instincts should be picking up on this already, and everybody in this room can see it except for you because you're the sucker in this room. Mm-hmm. Why is it that guys complicate their lives, and why is it that you think that they don't see those red flags about women when it comes to like what their intrinsic value should be to that woman? Because that guy technically is like cardinal rule of relationships is, the person in any relationship with the most power is the one who needs the other the least. And I think that what happens is the guy who doesn't see the red flags is the guy who doesn't realize he's really the one that's in the position of power.
If you can boil it down to one thing, I'm going to go with it's a lack of options. I mean, if you go to the grocery store, and I just recorded a video on this the other day. I got to put it out on my channel after some edits. But I mean, if you go to the produce section and you're going to get apples and there's one apple there, you don't have any contrast. You don't know if it's a good apple, if it's bad, if it's rotten, if it's ripe, if it's overripe, like you have to have options. Like you have to be able to choose to understand, what's going on. And most guys just grab the low hanging fruit, like whatever's easy. And that's the wrong way to go about it in my view. And we've all done that. I mean, all of us on this panel, nobody here is perfect. we've all done it, and you just have to understand from it, learn from it, and grow. You don't lose in life. You're supposed to learn from things like that. So, I mean, the problem is not a lot of guys do, and they still subscribe to comfortable lies instead of the uncomfortable truth, and they'll keep doing the same thing over and over again. They wonder why they go through 3 marriages and they get divorced, raped through every single one with less and less money every single time. It's like, dude, there's something going on there, right? Like, stop complicating your life with these dumb choices. But guys like to do it. We're glutton for punishment.
Do you think it's because of ignorance, or do you think it's because of like desperation, or like
ignorance, lack of education, societal conditioning, scarcity mindset? Yeah, a lack of abundance, in your life. There's like, you can apply this to like jobs, to business choices, to career choices, to schooling. Like, if you're getting crappy results out of what it is that you're doing, let's deal with the sexual marketplace, because that's what Rule Zero, we'll talk about for the most part. If you're getting crap results with women, or shitty relationships, or you're getting run through the divorce grinder, yeah, there's crap women out there. Yeah, there's certain things that you can do to minimize that, but a lot of guys will just like keep signing up over and over again. And I don't have sympathy for guys like that. It's like, at some point you have to realize that you have to stop doing dumb shit. And how do you stop doing, dumb shit? Well, you stop making dumb choices. Well, how do you stop making dumb choices? Well, you update your beliefs, and you see that there's a alternate reality that might exist that isn't fully aligned with the crap you've been sold, your entire life. That's really what my book, The Unplugged Alpha, is all about, is unplugging from a lot of this crap.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's those limiting beliefs, and I know that sounds like kind of Tony Robbins kind of BS. Ooh, think about yourself first.
Yeah, like you said, like you see it a lot of my Before the Train Wreck series. Like, guys will call in and be like, "Hey, Rich, I'm 29, and my girlfriend, she wants to have another kid, and we've only been dating for like 3 months." It's like, cool, man. How old is she? Well, she's 40, and she's already got 2 kids from 2 prior relationships. And she's like, okay, motherfucker, hold on a second. You haven't read my book, have you?
So you want a baby with Down syndrome?
Yeah.
Well,
you want a baby with Down syndrome, and you want to take care of 2 others that aren't even yours.
Well, I mean, I've talked about this before on the topic of like midlife crises, right? Midlife crisis for guys, like, women like to belittle that. They like to say, "Oh, you're just trying to recapture your youth before you are, aged out," or something like that. And I'm like, no, it's guys who made their bed. They committed to something that they probably shouldn't have committed to, because had they held out long enough, had they held out to, be like John's age, like, 35, 36 years old, they would have a much different opinion over, first of all, what is good for them, what they can achieve, what their peak potential, their peak value really is. And the kind of selectivity and the kind of things and the kind of opportunities and the things that they can enjoy as a result of that are gone for those guys, because now they've got 3 kids, they've got a shrew of a wife, and they've locked themselves into a way of thinking, really. And usually when it comes, like, most guys, when they have a midlife crisis, they don't realize that they're having it. Or they do, but they realize that they think that they're having it because, oh, this is just what guys do when they're 40 some odd years old. This is just the natural progression of things. Sex usually declines after marriage. Those kinds of tropes that we think should be true. And so they don't realize why they feel the way that they do. The real reason is because they go, damn, if I'd have just held out, if I had just done what Rollo Tomassi said and not married until I was like 35, 36 years old, then I would have been in a much better position to have the choices of doing the things that I want to do, seeing the places I want to go, following up on opportunities that I would not have had I not made those decisions to commit to those particular things.
Not being stuck in a man cave.
Yeah, exactly. Like creating your own little personal space, and so what happens is you think, as a guy, because you're still stuck in that matrix and that blue pill, you think you're having a midlife crisis because that's just what guys go. It's menopause.
Such thing, man. These guys that are all proud of their man caves. To me, that's sad. Like, it's like, dude, like, I can tell that you're the breadwinner. Like, the man cave is your house. And then you go and give it to a woman, and then she basically throws you out of it. So you put all your stuff in the dark, cold corner of the basement, and you decorate it with a couple things and put some shit up on the wall with some beer, like some Miller Lite sign. And you're like, I'm a man now, and here's my man cave. It's like, no, dude, you're a
guys are proud of that shit too.
Yeah, like, that's the worst. Like, don't be proud of that stuff.
And I think, okay, now let me ask you this. That's a good, I wrote an essay. It's not in any book, but I wrote an essay called The Men in the Garage, which is exactly about, the man cave kind of thing. And like sort of staking your own little area as a guy. Do you think that is as a result of a guy not realizing his own value? Or do you think
100%.
that's a result?
Listen to what happened to me. So I had my own condo that I bought in 2007. It's two bedroom, and then that was before the market drop. So I ended up getting married, and I'm under like 185,000 on what I initially paid for the condo. So like I wasn't going to sell it. I wasn't just going to give up my down payment and all this other crap. So I got pressured after the marriage into buying a second home because it just didn't, the condo just didn't feel like hers.
Wasn't big enough, right?
Right. So it just didn't feel right. So I ended up, so we rented the condo out, and then we bought another house that she could help remodel and make it her own, and that put us in very bad financial issues, because I also got fired from the UFC, very similar timeline. And so I dug myself in a huge ditch that put even more stress on the relationship. And then even as we remodeled that house, like I was kind of pushed out into the garage. It's where my weights were. It's where my weed and my grow stuff was. And I had a couch out there, and then me and my buddies would sit out and hang out in the garage most of the time in between workouts. And, dude, that's a complete and total frame loss, because that went against my whole life plan. I bought that condo to stay in it until I paid it down enough to turn it into a rental, and I could easily afford something else. Of course, I broke my own plan. Why did you up my own money to make her happy? Happy wife, happy life.
To be the good guy and
for a failed belief set.
Yep. No, and that's what I work so hard to get where I am right now. That's why when a chick like comes into my life and just tells me what to do, I'm like, you gonna tell me what to do? I was like, that's not how this works here. You're replaceable. I'm not. And that's why every man out there, because I see some guys in the chat right now like, I want a wife, I want this, I want that. Dude, you're not just gonna go out there and like go to some foreign country and be like, oh look, I just found the perfect wife here in this vending machine. Okay, it doesn't work like that. If you want to find a good woman, you have to develop the good red pill lens for you to spot a good woman. And the only way you're going to be able to spot a good woman is by dating a bunch of shitty women, because then you're like, damn, I hate bitches that snore. I hate bitches that are extroverted. I hate girls that don't fucking clean. I hate girls that don't fucking take care of their armpit hair. And then you start to realize what you like and what you dislike. But for you guys, most of you guys out in their chat, you're so pathetic and lazy that you're just like, oh, just take whatever comes my way. You're just gonna like a beggar, and ultimately you lose because you don't want to do the work. In today's day and age, with the world we live in, you have to become good at game. And game is not like, oh baby, do you believe in magic? Oh, now she's gonna have sex with me. Look at me, I'm the alpha male, right? It's not like that. It's understanding female psychology. It's understanding how women tick. It's understanding female manipulation. It's understanding that no matter how, because a lot of these guys are fucking delusional. It doesn't matter how much of a traditional great woman she is. She's still going to piss you off. She's still going to have these emotional outbursts. She's still just going to lose her shit once a month, just for the sake of losing her shit, because that is what a woman is. And you guys don't know what a fucking woman is. You guys are as delusional as the feminist. That's it.
It kills me that I got like, there's guys who you would otherwise like, if I met John Fitch when he was married and he was doing the shit with the condo and everything else, I would have been like, yeah, that guy can kick ass and that guy's an alpha male. But he's an alpha male that's making decisions that doesn't seem like he's the mindset is alpha male. He's definitely an alpha when he's in the ring. Same thing for guys who I've worked with guys who are like worth $100 million, right? And they will be the most beta guys you have ever known when it comes to their personal lives. But you put them in their business and they know exactly what to do. Like they are just on top of their game. But because they believe that happy wife, happy life, right? That's the way it's got to work. they still are stuck in the idea of what's strategic pluralism theory, right? They got to put all their eggs into one basket because that's just what an honorable good man does, and they don't see and they don't understand their own intrinsic inherent worth with that woman, and they wonder why they have shitty marriages, sexless marriages, imbalanced marriages. They, by all accounts, should have frame, but they don't have frame. They have all the money in the world. They can buy multiple houses. They can get, go on nice vacations, and she's still banging the pool boy. She's
Hey,
still.
Rolo, I don't know if you
unhappy.
remember. Hey, Rolo, I don't know if you remember, but there was a question thrown at me once at a live event that we were stupid enough to attend and speak at, and the guy asked me, like,
well, we learn from our bad experiences,
yeah,
right?
we've made wise choices and dumb ones.
Failures.
And this guy asked, he said, because I was talking about managing your energy, aka, managing your fucks, and he said, well, how do you manage your energy? Like, how do you manage your fucks? Like, why would you do that? Like, I don't understand. Like, I just kind of give them away sometimes. And my answer to him was quite simple. It's because you don't value them. You don't, like, if you value something, you don't give it away for free. You don't just like widely, dispense it, cast it aside, or everywhere that that you go. So it's the same thing with like making stupid choices with women. Is if you don't value yourself as a guy, if you don't value, what you bring to the table, you're going to throw it around and just be, oh, I'll go with this one. Or, this one looks good, today. It's like, you have to have some boundaries, right? You have to be able to say no. Like, they need to know that they're replaceable. But a lot of the times guys get themselves in a scenario where the woman feels absolutely comfortable, stops banging them, feels like they're irreplaceable, and they just like carry on through that shitty existence until it falls apart.
Here, this is the last fuck I have to give. Aaron Clary pointed these out. I'm like, oh, I gotta get some of those. Yeah, but I mean, it's true, because I think that we have this misunderstanding that an alpha is like the way that we look at a guy's value anyways is necessarily about like one specific aspect of that guy's life. That's why I was asking, is it money? Is it looks? Is it money? Is it status? Is it what is it? Make muscle, make money, learn game. If you have an imbalance in one of those, are you trying to compensate with another one? Are you a real guy? Are you a real boy? If you have more of one than you do of the other. And so when I was asking the question about like guys who get into a situation where they're complicating their lives, that it seems like they're intentionally doing that. The guys who are the most frustrating are the guys who think you would think that they would have their shit together, right? Jeff Bezos, why are you getting with dirty Lauren Sanchez? Why? What in what world does that seem like a good idea for the richest guy in the world? It's because it's up here. Why are you not living like Dan Bilzerian? Because it's up here.
Money doesn't fix blue pill beliefs.
Yeah, he exactly.
Like, look at Elon Musk, right? Like, look at his new baby mama. Like, what a train wreck that.
What was that a good idea for a guy of that value? And it's like, okay, so his value is his value based on the amount of money he has in his bank account? Is his value based on his physique? Clearly, Elon Musk is not lifting period. So should we evaluate his self-worth and his value as a guy based on that, or does his money and does his aspirations and does his like accomplishments, does that overshadow the fact that he's married to Grimes, who is an utter train wreck?
Could you imagine showing up at an event and be like, hey guys, this is my woman. Say hi to Grimes.
Yeah.
Grimes, check her out.
Got the girl. Yeah. And let me save everybody the effort of trying to shame me or throw rocks at me, or even John Fitch for that matter as well. It's like the reason why we are doing what we do right now is not because we got everything right. It's because we got a lot of things wrong. Mm. John got things wrong. Troy got things wrong. Ryan's everybody on this panel got things wrong. So when I say, oh yeah, guys should not even consider monogamy until they're 30, and then they go, well, you got married when you were 28. Yeah. And I've said several times, several times that had I had to do it over again, I probably would have waited an extra 2 years just to sort of, see how things play out and to sort of like establish frame a little bit better. Now, it worked out for me. You know, you got a unicorn, right? You know, you dodged the bullet or whatever. You've got a great woman, and it's coming up on 25 years. Awesome. That's why I don't use my relationship as proof of concept. Okay. I lucked out in many ways. I lucked out, and in other ways, it's because I'm red pill aware and I've applied that as something that I've internalized in my life, in my relationship, in my marriage, in being a parent as well. Right. A lot of and it works. But did I make the right decision at the right time because I had this great, overblown sense of self? No, not at all. I'm a result of my mistakes as much as I am of my successes. Yeah. So that's something. And you know who doesn't get that? Guys who are like, Quasimodo, you should have done everything perfectly. It's like they don't understand that because they're still stuck in that childish mentality.
The most successful guys that I know that have their life sorted, the money sorted, their self-care sorted, made a fuck ton of mistakes.
Oh yeah. And again, like good decisions are learned because you had bad decisions in the first place.
Also learn from the mistakes of others. You'll save so much more time if you pay attention to what these guys say on the panel and their individual channels, the books that they write, my stuff, even in my book. My entire book is a collection of dumb shit that I've done in my life, basically, is what I could have called it. I could have called it Rich's collection of dumb shit that I've done. Don't do this.
Yeah. Cool Hand Luke here says some men will accept any kind of crappy female behavior to not be lonely. That was one of the first things I wrote about in like the myth of the lonely old man. A lot of guys think that if they don't do it, if they don't cash their chips in, if they're not following they won't solve their reproductive problem if they don't cash in when they have the chance. What I think is funny is guys tend to be too eager to get into commitments, whereas women tend to not be as eager to get into those commitments.
Like, you just look in the chat. You see the guys in the chat like, oh, how do I find a wife? If I move to Japan, can I find a wife? And it's like, and these are people watching this.
Yeah, exactly.
That was it.
And they're looking for, and that's my sort of mantra for this year is, what is it? What do you want? Does getting married seem like a good idea to you? Why does it seem like a good idea to you? If we're going to hold women's accountable and create all this great red meat, sizzle and steak, podcasts about holding women accountable. Okay, great. What do we do once they've been held accountable? What's the ideal state? What's the goal state? Where would you like to be once we hold them accountable and they turn into what you want them to be? Then where do we go? Oh, well, then we'll get married. Bad idea right now, like from the get-go. So we also need to focus on what the goal state is. What is it that you want? So like you're just saying, Troy, like these guys are saying, oh, I want to go get married. Should I go get married in Japan? Well, I think the bigger question is, why do you want to get married in the first place? Why does that seem like a good idea to you, particularly in the age of on-demand divorces and alimony and child support and all this other stuff that goes along with that? It's nothing but downside. I wish it wasn't that way. But when people say we need women to think ahead, aren't these chicks just doing what would naturally come to them anyways? And they're hoping to have their cake and eat it too, right? They want to cash out at the 0 hour before the lights go off at the party. But to what end? Who cares? They eventually, women want to get married. They want to have babies. They want to have a family, blah, 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 right? They're not thinking ahead, but yet they expect men to not be childish, to not want to plan ahead and to be ready for that woman when she's finally got it all out of her system, and they're right there as her kind of fail-safe or parachute at the last moment. What do I got here? Assange says, nothing's more threatening and yet simultaneously attractive to a woman than a man who is aware of his own value to women. How to use this the right way? How do you leverage that? Yeah. What is the right way? That's what I keep saying. What do you want? What do you
want? Yeah. What's right for you?
Yeah.
Do you want a wife or do you want a bunch of girlfriends?
Yeah. Well, do you want to just spin plates indefinitely, or do you like the 3 month relationships? Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the reasons I criticize Roosh all the time is because he's pretty much made a living off of writing lay guides, and not unlike a woman in her epiphany phase has decided he wants to get right with God now at 40 years old.
After taking drugs.
After taking drugs, yes, of course. The prerequisite for that is magic mushrooms. But again, and this is actually a pretty good question, because this was actually from my book. Is there's nothing that is as threatening, and John just said this a minute ago. Is like when you go and you say, "No, bitch, this is my house. This is my place. This is my success. This is my world. If you want to enter into this world, these are the terms and conditions of you entering into my world, right? If you want to be a part of this, if I'm the guy that you want to marry, if I'm the guy that you want to have babies with, I need to know that I'm the guy. You want to have my kids. You want to marry me, not I want to get married. It's time for me to get married. Or I want to have babies. My biological clock is ticking and you'll do. Come here, mister. If that's the case, next, you're out the door right then and there, because that's not you coming into my frame. Now, what's going to happen here is like, what's the right way to use it? There's going to be people in the chat right now who will say, well, you shouldn't be so arrogant. You shouldn't think of yourself. Think of the girl. What about the family? What about the kids? What about this? What about that?
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Or they'll think that you're being manipulative and playing games because is that what the red pill is? Is the red pill really just manipulation? We got that question earlier on in this podcast.
Manipulation. I feel like we've been manipulated our whole lives, and when you get red pill, it takes the manipulation off of you.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to put it.
Central point of origin.
I don't think
everything is manipulation.
It's not manipulation. It's seeing things clearly. It's seeing reality as objectively as we
back
can.
off with this stuff.
What you say? It is manipulative.
Yeah, I say yes. Goddamn right, dude. A baby cries, so you freak out and go tend to it. That's manipulation. My dog's whining when they want dinner and punching me in the head in the morning for breakfast. That's manipulation. Get it through your heads, guys. Life is manipulation. People influence others to do the things they want. The only difference between red pill and anything else is you are the one that wins at the end of this one. And I'm not saying to manipulate means you always have to be evil. There's synergistic manipulation. There's everybody wins. You know my tweet that pissed off the feminists about how do you make a girl happy by dragging her to happiness, kicking and screaming? And then everybody decided to tell me about their fucking daddy issues for an hour. That was wonderful. But that's just it. Yeah, you're manipulating a girl. You're getting her into her bed by giving her a ton of awesome feelings. And you know what? She had a better day for it. You're welcome. Thank God I manipulated you. Because you know what those stupid beta male guys are doing? They're trying to manipulate, but they fucking suck at it. That's where this nice guy behavior comes up. I want to be your friend. They don't want to be your friend. They want to smash, but they want to make you comfortable first because they don't want to take a fear of rejection out of it. So not only are they trying to manipulate and doing so badly at it, they're also not even taking responsibility for the fact that they just want to sleep with a woman. Heaven forbid a guy wants to sleep with a girl. Oh my God. So yeah, you learn, okay, you're already being manipulative. Here's how you can do it and actually make everybody enjoy their time around you. And sometimes it's going to get ugly. During a divorce, you're playing to win. You're not playing to be fair. You can be benevolent once you've got 100% of the asset. Then you can be like, here's what you need to survive with our kid. But that's the point. You got to come at this from a position of strength. And I refuse to apologize for it at all. And all these guys, and no offense to you guys, but anybody who's making apologetics for, well, red pill's not manipulative, are completely ignoring that life is life, man. It's just life. That's what happens. Rich manipulates people. When he wants a sale, he tells you some things that'll influence your ability to want to purchase from him. But Rich has the common sense to when he offers you something, it's fucking useful and your life's going to be better for it. Now, if Rich wasn't manipulative, you'd have called him a grifter and then go and sign up for, I can't think of who like the Anthony Johnson is of like debt consolidation, but I'm sure he knows a guy. Calls Rich a traitor or some shit. You know what I mean? All right,
debt consolidation. Yep, you got me.
Guilty. Yeah.
Everybody wants to do awesome alpha male shit, but they're afraid to be fucking thought of as, oh my God, somebody might not like you if you do it. Well, fucking suck it up, asshole.
Now, Ryan, is that not part of like accepting and like living out your own value? I think that.
What else could it be?
That thing.
You want to go your own way? There you go. Red pill's going your own way.
You want to know why guys? And again, I wanted to sort of keep this show like both between like how guys should estimate other men's value versus women, women estimating a man's value. Rich, I don't think and Ryan, you guys weren't on when I asked this in the beginning, is should we evaluate men based, like, how should we do that? Should it be on like the hottest chicks that they get with? Should it be how jacked they are? Should it be how much money they have? How
useful they are to me?
What makes them valuable? At what point by what metric do we say that dude's a success and that dude's a failure?
I don't care about that.
With the value that they create. It's
Yeah.
And
this
should we
is what
make
they
it
do.
consistent?
It's with the dent in the universe that they make. It's not a notch count. It's not a course. It's
What
not
if it's
a.
1300 in Brazil though?
It doesn't matter. I mean, like all of those things are not relevant because what matters, why do people like why was Elon Musk selected to go on to Saturday Night Live? Why not one of us? Because he's done something and he continues to do things that are impressive and interesting to other people. I'm not saying he makes the best choices in his life with women, but you know, he's a man that other men respect and want to be, and they buy his shit up like crazy. Like when you see guys talking about Tesla, they are fastidious about it. They're drunk on the Kool-Aid like I've never seen about any other car brand in the world, right? So that's an indicator of a guy that's created value in the world, right? He's solving problems, he's making solar panels, he's building rockets. Again, doesn't make the best choices with women, but we'll set that aside. But that's, you know, to me, an indication of value. Like that's somebody that's done something with their lives.
Like when I look at John Fitch right now, like I asked John this earlier, it's like John's dating chicks between 25 and like 35, somewhere around there, 32 and 22. Sorry if I got that wrong, man.
32.
But like, so his value, like when women evaluate, I asked him this, I said, you know, are you finding women that want to sort of start a new life with you, especially after you've already got 2 boys right now, John. So it's like, you've gone through those eras of your life, and you're probably not looking for, a new mother to start, you know, like you have 3 more kids with and go through that again with somebody else. But your value, you're proven commodity. You've got 2 kids, right? You've been a fighter. You got money. You got status. People know who you are and stuff. And so it's like, yeah, what have you built? What are your achievements? What is your, you know, what are your certainly what are your ambitions? Still have ambitions, I would hope so. But I think that I think at the end of the day, I think that it's not the trophies that are on top of your shelf when you're on your deathbed. It's your body of work is what makes you sort of I think anyway, should be the metric that we judge ourselves by. Do you guys think, I meant to ask this too, do you guys think that you should compare yourself to other guys?
Absolutely.
I think so too. Because a lot of people will say, no, you shouldn't do that. You should only compare yourself to who you were yesterday.
Well, you should increase your value based on who you were yesterday, but you should look at other men and say, that's a great man. I want to study what he's done. He's a great person, and there's lessons to be learned there because success leaves clues. So I think that you should compare and learn from other guys that are more successful than you. Men compete, right? I mean, like we see it in the Mano Swamp all the time. There's always these lower tier guys that try to compete with you with their bullshit narratives. And it's like, sorry, who are you? You know, I've never heard of you before, sort of thing. You know, it might come out with a hit piece or some other story, but men will compete, right? Like, you know, it's in men's nature to form tribes and, you know, compete with one another. It's just what we do. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, I'd say you have to be specific, not say, I want to be Rich Cooper. Like, no offense, Rich is great.
Yeah.
But like, if it comes to like net worth as a competition, like you said, yeah. If I'm going to compare net worth, goddamn rights, I'm competing with Rich and I'll look up to him and whatever. If it's playing the Ibanez guitar with a chorus pedal, I'll be looking at Rolo like, all right, let's get this done. Where's my mullet?
Yeah, it's the same thing with like self-care too, right? I mean, I think that you should look at guys in your age bracket or group that take care of themselves in a way that's better than you, and you should try to compete with them and like look at them and be like, okay, that guy benches 3 plates, he's strong, you know, he can do all these things. Why can't I do that yet? Yeah, okay, so go and compete with him. You know, become his training partner, find somebody else to train with you to go and do those things.
Exactly. Now, and to follow up with your original question too, Rolo, this is why I think that matters. When you were saying, what does it makes a man valuable? And they're like, is it money? Is it whatever? Utility to you. Like you said, Elon Musk, Saturday Night Live gives a shit about him because he's awesome for the brand. He did some amazing shit and they want to get him on there because it'll make some headlines. Looking at guys as some like objective measure of value is how you end up with those brand of me's. And no offense to the Tates, you know, good guys, whatever, but they sit there, they point at their cam girl, they point at their car, and then you soak it up because that's what a man is supposed to be. John Fitch won a bunch of fights. Not a single one made me any money. So I don't care about this from a value perspective. That doesn't make John the best man in the world for me. I'm not denigrating John. John's awesome. But as soon as you guys start looking at that, like what makes the objective value, like how should you judge men? How useful they are to you. I guarantee you, Pick one of the goofy MGTOWs in here bitching about not finding a wife in Japan or whatever. If he makes Rich 20 grand and a weekend of work, Rich will start to like him. Rich will start to value him. But right now, he's useless as tits on a bull.
Why don't you ask John Fitch, a man who made a living at competing with other men, should men compete?
Yeah. Do you give a shit about who's that idiot that just did the fight again? The influencer from YouTube?
Oh yeah,
Jake Paul.
Yeah. Are you looking up to Jake Paul? I mean, he's got a fighting record.
I will look at their marketing and what they're doing with marketing and how they put themselves out there, because your notoriety is what sells fights, and it's what a lot of fighters need to understand and embrace, because that's where we are with MMA right now. Is fighters think the UFC is the end all be all. People pay to watch UFC and not the fighters. So these guys, they don't even know their wealth. But to answer the question about competition, yes, you have to compete in order to test yourself. So competing against other people is the best way to see if you're meeting the marks, if you're leveling up, if you're getting better. But it is something you have to be careful with, because external competitions can be overwhelming. If you're trying to compete with Michael Jordan and you're a basketball player, and you're a little kid, that may be too big of something to try to compete with, and you may crush yourself and not be motivated to even try. So you have to be careful with that a little bit. But again, if you are competing against guys who are way beneath you, if I'm going into a gym where everybody's a white belt and I just crush everybody every day, like I'm not really competing to a way I'm going to benefit. So you kind of have to find that sweet spot and then turn that competition internally. And you need to be competing, I think, mostly with yourself. And you use the outside competition as kind of markers to see if you're making the progress you need to. And you can find a lot of inspiration that way too.
I had
remember that iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to tag something onto what Ryan was saying, is that I think right now, one of the reasons why you hear guys saying, "Oh, you need to just don't compare yourself to other guys. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday." Like you're in a competition with yourself. And I think that in a sense, yeah, that's true, because you got to see how far you've come. Like, are you at the top of the mountain, or at the middle of the mountain, or at the bottom of the mountain? That's certainly a good self-assessment. But I think if that's the only assessment that you're doing, then you're sort of selling yourself short. You need to compare yourself to other people who have done more.
That's a little bit like womanese, to try to get you not to compete, because women don't compare yourself to other women. Don't compare yourself to the
which is exactly what I see.
Big butt and boobs.
Which is exactly what I see happening in the Mana Swamp, I guess is what we're calling it now. Is guys
like that, eh?
guys don't want you to. Other guys, lesser men, will never want you to compete with them, because they know that they can't compete with you.
Crabs in a bucket.
When it's that obvious, when it's that apparent that your value is higher than another guy, the only recourse they have is to disqualify you, and the only way they can make you disqualified is if you disqualify yourself. Is if you pull yourself out of the game, right? If we're all not playing, then we're all winners. There has never been a more participation trophy mentality than that. Let's all just agree to be cool with each other and we won't compete. Well, guess what? You're a guy. You are a human male on planet Earth, and competition is part of your nature. Even if you're doing it on Call of Duty while you're playing your video games, you're being competitive. Sorry, not sorry. That's how that works. But it's exactly what you're saying, John. Is like the idea that we shouldn't be judgmental is very feminine. No, that's the cardinal sin to like the religion of emotionalism, that you would in any way be judgmental, that you would stand in judgment because, and it's in our religion, right? Be the first to cast the first stone, right? Or take the mote out of your eye before you complain about the plank or plank out of your eye before you complain about the mote in another person's eye. And we can use those aphorisms and those truthiness, quotations. That you want to know why women love like those kind of like inspirational quotations that they throw around on Instagram and Facebook and everything else, is because it's judgmental without being judgmental. It's like, well, I didn't say it was somebody else, but I got some inspiration from this, and I don't want to sound like I'm actually trying to make you feel bad about yourself or to make you compare yourself to someone else or something else. So I think that when we are evaluating personal value and then understanding that value and then leveraging that value as men, we need to compare ourselves to other men. We need to compare ourselves to the way we were 10 years ago or 5 years ago. I need to get to these. Sorry, I couldn't put these on. Colonel Sanders, $50. Thank you, brother. He says, it's interesting. Most men these days refuse. Where is that? Oops, sorry. Refuse to listen to good advice when it takes really hard work and rocks the social boat. Yes, because becoming better requires work. And if you're going to become better, you have to have an idea of what you are now and be dissatisfied and discontent with what you are now. And look at, I want to be like John. I want to be like Rich Cooper. I want to be like Michael Jordan. I want to have that's where I want to be. And even if I'm not exactly that guy, I want to be comparable to that guy. I want to be at least in the same league as that guy, to play alongside that guy and still be considered somebody who can compete with that dude. So that's number one. Number two is this. Juan Navarro says, after dealing with drama caused by female employees, watching what happens on Fresh and Fit, and looking back at my mistakes with women, and the fact that I can't behave around them, kind of going into black pill territory, doesn't feel right. Any thoughts on that?
Why is he letting chicks judge his behavior? Like at work, I get it, but what are you saying? I can't behave right. He's assuming that they're telling him what right is, and he can't do it.
Well, I think
give you a hint from chore play, though. A quick thing. Chore play is this wonderful trap where girls don't want to have sex with you, but if they're not going to sleep with you, you might as well get some free stuff. The problem is you will do chores to her standard on her schedule, and the only thing that'll change is she'll make a more convoluted set of standards. So yeah, never let a girl judge you, because they will automatically move the goalposts, because for them it's just a power trip. And that's why you're having these issues where nothing's ever good enough, because it's not meant to. Anyways, I cut you off, Rolo. I'm sorry.
No, man, it's fine. I was going to relate, and we're almost done here. I'm sorry. We're going over. I'll give you a story of Rolo. I had an art teacher one time tell me, he said, there's three kinds of artists, really. The first kind is the guy who is naturally, innately talented. He's got a gift from God, right? He just understands proportion. He just understands art. He's very good, or maybe he's a musician. It just comes naturally to him. And then there's the guy, and he's good at it because of that. And then there's the guys who are good at their art because they love it so much. They're so passionate about it. They might not have the same natural talent that the natural does. The guy who's got the gift from God kind of thing. They might not have that same, but they love it so much, and they bust their ass so hard at it that they become good. But the best kind of artist is the guy who can combine both of those together, where you take innate talent and you take that perseverance and that really drive and that lust and that love for whatever that art is or whatever that ambition is, and you can fuse those two together. That's when you get a guy who makes a dent in the universe. Let me put on. I'm trying to get to all these before we go here. This is how Emmanuel says, how to deal with the response of being too cold or emotionless, being self-obsessed. I've been really hustling and with work and going to the gym and focusing on myself since watching Fresh and Fit, Rolo, and Cooper. Do you find
shaming tactic?
Yeah, is that a shaming tactic?
Yeah, it's a weak ass shaming tactic. Like anytime you level yourself up and you become better, you're always going to be challenged by people around you, whether it's family or friends, questioning if that's really what you want. That's all that is. You just have to continue on the course. They can either come along, for the ride and do the work and join you, or they can sit back and wait and do nothing. At some point, you're going to put some distance between you and those people. Leave them behind. It doesn't matter. It's not your responsibility to level up everybody in the world. Take care of yourself first. That's what mental point of origin is, for crying out loud.
Yeah, exactly. Juan Navarro wants to clarify. He says the employee thing doesn't involve me, but I have to manage and deal with them. That's the emotional side of things. Like, why do you feel like there's no behavior set that's going to guarantee your success? Okay, that's why I always say the red pill is a praxology. It is a set of tools that you use to create your success, to create your value, to have an educated opinion about something, to understand the nature of the game that you are in. The only failure is your inability to use it. So when people say, "Oh, you're emotionless," or "You're this," or I don't see my problem is I don't encounter guys who are. I encounter more guys who are too emotional, who are too over the top, who are too emotionally available. These are the guys who are like, what, 33 years old, and they're trying to figure out how to get their 40-year-old wife back, back in pocket. And how do I have sex with my wife? I lost frame roll. How do I do it? You know how you lost it? Because you were too emotional, because you weren't in control of your brain. You didn't have the frame that you thought you actually did. What's this? Mateo says, most of the niceness comes from men being raised by single mothers. Yeah. The nice philosophy comes from an ancient form of living that doesn't reflect the market. Sons of single mothers need mentors. I was that kid. Absolutely. That's why
they're constantly cramming inclusivity, no more isms, no more phobias. Even in the school system, like they're cramming it down children's throats. They used to teach kids in school math, English, geography, history. Now they're teaching them be more inclusive, be more humble, like
social crap.
Yeah, everything that ties into that narrative, right?
Well, it's exactly what this chick was saying earlier on the Tim Pool podcast thing that I was throwing out there. It's this nicety. I mean, what is it? 42% of children in the United States are born out of wedlock. They're born to single mothers. So that's almost half of the population right there. And you take into consideration the Pareto principle on top of that. Yeah, you've got at least 2 generations, maybe 3 generations of manginas and pussies, right? Let's see. MD Titus says, red pill becomes more and more red since I stumbled upon you guys. Laugh out loud. Example, early 20s or a 20-year-old girl comes over, talks about how much she loves her boyfriend, shows me all of her OnlyFans pics. She's my personal yoga partner now. Good for you. Measure your success. What do I got here? Donate to the Ryan Meme Fund, the RMF.
It's a worthy cause.
With those lately. I'm in Colombia, and even the girls here don't want kids and marriage anymore. It's all about being free, traveling, and no responsibilities.
Awesome. I'm going to Colombia after the show then.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds fucking great.
I hope Brazil's great, man.
Yeah, Brazil's awesome.
Yeah. All right. That's it for today, guys. I'm going to go around the house here. John and I are going to be on my show tomorrow. I'll just tell you what I'm doing right now. John and I will be on my show tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific. Unless, do you want to do it later, John? Did you want to do
1 p.m. Pacific,
or do you want me to push it to 2? You need your beauty list.
2, just said it early. I just said it ahead so people know.
Okay,
Yeah.
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock Pacific. That ends up being 5 o'clock Eastern time. I think we'll probably talk about that video a little bit more too. John Fitch, you're up.
I have my podcast tomorrow night. I think Paul from Apex Mindset is going to join me. Not sure what we're going to talk about yet. Probably introduce some of my viewers to him. I also have a cardio course I'm getting ready to release this week. So 12-minute bike workout if you got an Aerodyne bike. Get unfat 1 to 3 times a week, 12-minute workout. That's all it is.
Excellent. Troy. Unmute yourself, Troy. You're
unmuted. Unmuted. Yeah, join me next week on my channel where I will be doing live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Got a very special guest coming up on Friday, actually, which I'll reveal more about in the week. Aside from that, if you go to my channel, want to read some of my books about dating game, the dating marketplace, all of that stuff, I've got a collection called Renegade Dating Blueprint. You can grab it on the links that are on my channel. So head over there.
Awesome. Jonathan, besides tomorrow, what are you doing?
MasculineEmpowermentNetwork.com. Enrollment's open. We start 20 educational webinar sessions on May 5th. Come get some. 120 something plus people signed up. Enrollment closes Monday midnight. Me and Rolo will be talking about it more on this channel. You can wait and sign up with his link tomorrow and support him. Dude Party is going to be on right after this. We're going to cover the Yuri Bezmenov video talking about why America is 1,000% doomed, what exactly is happening, and how you can protect yourself or just crawl up in a cave and die, whatever.
Cool. Well, they're not doomed in Canada. So what's going on in Canada, right?
I'm selling caves.
I'm fallout shelters.
Yeah, with all this new time, we've extended the quarantine indefinitely. So I've added another series to my thing. I release it on midnight. I'm probably doing those on Thursdays where I really get into the old stuff. Like I laugh when that guy says, my red pill knowledge has become great ever since I discovered one of the founders of it when he was giving you that super chat. It's kind of that stuff. Here's the guys that did like all the amazing trailblazing work over the last 5-6 years. It's nice. It's chill. It's for those nights if you can't sleep or you got back from the bar and you just want to chill out and wait for your high to come down, or you just want to listen to it anyways. And then on top of that, practical female psychology. I go over all these guys asking all these weird kind of questions that are very specific about women, but you can tell they're not coming from any base of knowledge. That's the series for you. You want to know how girls' minds work, at least insofar as it helps you? It's that. It comes out every Sunday. There's going to be 18 total episodes. I think we're into episode 8 or 9. They come out on Sundays. Check them out there. And then come on into Patreon. It's the locker room type environment. It's all this stuff we've been talking about Rule Zero, but it's more private and it's discreet, so we can talk about stuff without having to worry. All those concerns, like John was saying, you guys are worried about getting Me Too'd and that. Well, here's a place where you can just quietly do it, and then no chicks give you grief. So come on in, check it out. We don't charge till the end of the month. If you like it, stick around. If you don't, well, thank you very much for your time anyway. And that's it for me.
Rich, what's going
Hello.
on, man?
Two things. So one, grab my book if you haven't read it, Unplugged Alpha. It's on Amazon, Kindle, print, and Audible. I narrate it myself. And the second thing, more of a public service announcement offer, if anything at all. I get a lot of guys lately, men and women, but it's mostly guys, slamming into my DMs, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I get emails because they don't like something that I say. If you have a better solution to something that I've offered, then why don't you come on my Before the Trainwreck show? It's on Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's on for 90 minutes. If you have a better solution, then let's hash it out live. I'd like to hear from you. It's open to everybody, men, women, young, old. What is your solution to the problem that you think that you can solve? Instead of filling up my private DMs with your diarrhea, come on the show. Let's do it live.
Vitriol.
All right? Bring it live. Bring your vitriol live. Let's see what you got.
Funny. All right. If you have not already figured this out, I did I just want to throw this out there real quick. I did a show, almost 3 hours with Offie Kingdom yesterday, which was actually a really fun, good show. Go check that out. It's on AFI Kingdom on YouTube. You can go look at that. And then also Monday, I did an interview with George Gammon, which is getting a lot of traction right now. So I wanted to throw that out there as well. It's now live. I did it with him on Monday and he published it Wednesday. So it's maybe 2 days old, but a lot of people are loving on that. So go check that out if you get a chance. This has been really fun. Once again, this actually, it's funny is like I always start out these shows with like sort of this topic and I know what I want to get into and I write my little bullet points and everything else. And you guys take it in a direction and it just becomes, it starts as ingredients and at the end of the show, it becomes a cake. So there you go. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Let's see, Rich or Ryan, who's up next?
I think it's me. I noticed the numbers kind of moved.
Yeah, Ryan is up next, actually. So, Ryan, you're hosting next Saturday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time.
We're totally going to do that manipulation thing. All these guys are afraid of hurting feelings. 2 hours of just it. You guys will love it.
Yeah.
You'll yell at people.
Become more manipulative.
All right. And John, Dude Party is in what, 30 minutes?
In 11 minutes.
11 minutes. Go over to Dude Party and hang out and talk about how the world's going to hell. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.